Hey there! If you're watching or listening, drop a comment below and tell me where you are and what time it is for you right now. And hey, while you're at it, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep these stories coming. The year is 1327. You wake with a shiver, not from a nightmare, but from the bone-deep cold that seeps through the thin linen sheets. The air in the stone chamber bites at your exposed skin, carrying the faint metallic scent of damp iron and the stale yeasty tang of last night's distant cooking fires. You're only 7, but softness is a luxury you've never known. Your small body aches from the hard palate, your breath pluming like smoke in the pre-dawn gloom. You push yourself up, the rough wool of your nightgown scratching your arms. There's no dawdling, no warm cuddles from a parent. Only the distant clang of a bell from the chapel tower, a stark reminder that your day of lessons and duties has already begun. You move to the basin, the water chilling your fingertips to numbness as you splash your face. You catch your reflection in the polished silver mirror. Wide, serious eyes, a small, tight mouth. No trace of childhood play, no joyful abandon. Only the inherited weight of a future already carved out for you. You dress quickly in the stiff, heavy fabrics laid out. A dark woolen tunic, sensible shoes, a simple coif to cover your hair. Every movement is practiced, a silent ritual of preparation. You feel the quiet presence of the governess just outside the door, her shadow long and unyielding. She never speaks, but her gaze, when it falls on you, is a physical pressure, a constant reminder of expectation. In the solar, the morning light struggles through the narrow window, illuminating motes of dust dancing in the frigid air. You sit at a heavy oak table, the wood cold and hard beneath your forearms. The smell of beeswax and old parchment fills your nostrils as a tutor, his face a landscape of etched lines, places a heavy Latin text before you. Your small fingers, still clumsy from sleep, tremble slightly as you grasp the quill. The ink smells acrid, staining your skin with each careful stroke. There is no praise for your efforts, no encouraging smile. Only a silent nod, a slow, deliberate tap on the page if your letters stray from their perfect, regimented line. Later, you sit by another window, watching the other children, the commoners, offspring, tumble and shout in the frozen courtyard, their laughter clear and unburdened. You yearn to join them, to feel the wild rush of their games, the simple warmth of shared joy. But you don't move. You can't. Your hands are busy with embroidery, a delicate, repetitive task that trains your fingers for the needlework befitting a lady of your station. Your eyes ache, your back stiff, yet you continue, the silk threads a vibrant splash of color against the drab fabric. It feels less like creation, and more like a cage, woven stitch by careful stitch. You are a child, yes, but not in the way children are now, free to explore, to dream without the crushing weight of preordained purpose. For you, every moment is a lesson, every gesture a preparation. You feel the chill of isolation, not just from the cold stone, but from the very air you breathe, thickened by the scent of duty that always surrounds you. You are being shaped, meticulously, ruthlessly, into something other than just a person. You are being made into a queen, and sometimes you wonder if there's any part of you that's truly your own. The heavy, cloying scent of frankincense and nervous sweat hangs in the air around you, thick and suffocating. You stand in the drafty great hall, your new gown, stiff with embroidery and foreign silks, prickling against your skin. It's too grand, too ornate, feeling less like clothing and more like a cage of rich fabric. Your feet, encased in soft kid leather, ache from standing so long. You're only a young woman, barely in your teens, but the weight of this moment feels ancient. You're surrounded by faces you barely know, stern visages of lords and ladies from a distant land. Their language is a harsh, unfamiliar rumble in your ears, a series of guttural sounds that offer no comfort. Your own family stands nearby, a wall of somber faces. Your father, a formidable man, avoids your gaze, his focus fixed on the foreign delegation. Your mother's hand, usually so firm, trembles slightly as she rests it on your shoulder for a fleeting second, a silent gesture of resignation, not solace. You feel a cold knot of dread tighten in your stomach as a man steps forward, his face etched with age, his eyes sharp and assessing. He is the envoy, the representative of your betrothed, a man you've never met, a prince from a kingdom across the stormy sea. He looks you up and down, his gaze lingering, as if appraising livestock at market. You feel like an object, a piece of property, a political chess piece being moved across a board you can't even see. The air crackles with unspoken agreements, with the quiet exchange of power and alliances, all predicated on your small, fragile existence. Then comes the ceremony. The weight of the betrothal ring, a cold band of gold, feels heavy and binding on your finger. It's not a symbol of love, but of duty, of an unbreakable pact that seals your fate. You feel the foreign parchment, stiff and formal, being signed with a flourish. With each stroke of the quill, a part of you, a part that might have dreamed of a different life, seems to fade away. Soon after, you're packed into a heavy, rumbling carriage, the stench of horses and damp straw filling your nostrils. The wheels grind over cobbled paths, pulling you further and further from the only home you've ever known. You press your face against the small, dusty window, watching your castle walls recede into the distance, shrinking until they're just a faint gray smudge against the horizon. The landscape changes, unfamiliar trees and distant hills replacing the familiar contours of your childhood. You're alone now, truly alone, surrounded by strangers who will soon become your new family, your new court. You feel a profound sense of emptiness, a hollow ache where your sense of belonging used to be. You are a princess, yes, destined for a crown, but you are also a stranger, a commodity, stripped of your roots and sent across a continent to serve a purpose that has nothing to do with your own heart. This is not a journey of adventure, but of exile. And as the carriage rumbles on, you realize that for a medieval queen, home is not a place you live, but a role you play, wherever you are told to play it. You step onto the cold, polished stone of the great hall, and a wave of new sensations crashes over you. The air here smells different, a cloying mix of unfamiliar incense, roasted meats, and a sharp, sweet perfume you've never encountered. It's overwhelming, almost physically pushing you back. Your new ladies in waiting, dressed in shimmering fabrics of a style utterly alien to your own, try to guide you, their hands light but firm on your elbows. The sounds are even stranger, a cacophony of voices, speaking a language that twists and turns in ways your ear can barely grasp. It's a harsh, guttural tongue, punctuated by sudden, sharp exclamations and soft, rolling phrases that mean nothing to you. You nod, you smile, you try to mimic the polite expressions you see, but inside, you feel completely lost, adrift in a sea of unintelligible sound. Every word spoken around you feels like a secret, a conspiracy of meaning you are not privy to. And the eyes, you feel them, hundreds of them, tracking your every movement. From the richly dressed nobles lining the walls to the servants hovering in the shadows, their gazes are a physical weight pressing down on you. They are assessing, judging, curious, perhaps even hostile. You catch glimpses of whispered conversations, of raised eyebrows and subtle smirks. You wonder what they're saying about you, the foreign princess, the intruder in their court. Do they mock your accent when you attempt a few clumsy words of their language? Do they find your customs barbaric, your demeanor too reserved? At dinner, the tension is almost palpable. The food is unfamiliar, spiced heavily with flavors that prickle your tongue, some delightful, others profoundly strange. You watch how others eat, how they gesture, how they drink, trying desperately to conform. A specific utensil, a certain way of addressing the king, a quiet nod that seems to hold hidden meaning. You try to observe and replicate, fearing any misstep could brand you as ignorant, or worse, disrespectful. You feel a constant, anxious tightness in your chest. You retreat to your chambers, but even there, the solitude feels less like peace, and more like an extension of the isolation. The tapestries on the walls depict scenes you don't understand. The furniture is carved in unfamiliar motifs. The very air feels thick, with a history that isn't yours. You are here, in this grand opulent place, yet you are utterly alone, a silent figure in a vibrant alien tapestry. You realize that a queen's power in a foreign land isn't about dominion, but about survival. It's about navigating a world where every gesture is a test, every silence a challenge, and the greatest comfort is simply making it through another day without betraying your vulnerability. The faint, metallic tang on your tongue isn't the wine, you realize, but the bitter taste of suspicion. You've learned to sip, not drink, to watch the servants closely as they approach your table, to notice who else drinks from the same goblet, who averts their gaze. The opulent feast in the great hall, usually a symbol of celebration, now feels like a meticulously laid trap. Rich spices, exotic fruits, and roasted game fill the air with their heavy aroma. But all you smell is the underlying scent of danger. You sit beside the king, your husband, his boisterous laughter echoing off the vaulted ceilings. Around you, the court swirls, a vibrant, dangerous ecosystem of ambition and rivalry. You've learned to read the subtle shifts in posture, the fleeting expressions, the way certain courtiers avoid eye contact or lean in too close when they speak. Their words, in your still imperfect grasp of their language, are often veiled, full of double meanings you struggle to decipher. Every compliment could be a slight, every gift a poisoned chalice. There's Lady Isolde, for instance, her eyes, like chipped ice, always finding yours across the crowded room. You watch her now, her lips pressed into a thin smile, as she converses with the king's most trusted minister. You remember the small, seemingly innocuous comment she made yesterday, a barb disguised as concern, which subtly questioned your competence in managing the household accounts. You felt the king's brief, sharp glance at you then, a flicker of doubt instilled. You had to counter it, later, with a precise recitation of figures you'd spent hours memorizing. You also observed the king's younger brother, Lord Gareth, a man whose ambition is as transparent as the clear glass of your wine goblet. His public deference is absolute, but you've seen the way his gaze lingers on the crown, the way he cultivates alliances among the lesser lords. You know he sees you as an outsider, perhaps even a weakness the king imported. You feel the constant, low hum of these unspoken rivalries, a ceaseless, invisible battle for influence and power, with your own position perilously close to the front lines. To survive, you've started to build your own fragile network. A quiet word with the head of the kitchens, a small favor granted to a loyal chambermaid, a carefully timed request to a merchant who could be useful. These small acts are your weapons, your shield. But even as you navigate this treacherous landscape, a profound loneliness settles deep within you. You are surrounded by people, yet there is no one you can truly trust. No one with whom you can simply be yourself, unburdened by the weight of your crown and the constant threat of betrayal. You realize that being a queen in this court is not about ruling, but about constant vigilance. It's a game played with smiles and whispers, where the stakes are not merely power, but your very life. And every day, you walk the tightrope, knowing that one wrong step could send you plummeting into an abyss of plots and conspiracies, leaving you utterly alone. The metallic, bitter taste of the herbal draft coats your tongue, thick and cloying. It's supposed to strengthen you, to coax life from your weary body. You swallow it down, forcing back a grimace, the warmth spreading through your stomach feeling more like a burning than a comfort. Your lady-in-waiting watches, her expression a mix of pity and silent expectation. You feel the constant, heavy weight of her gaze, and the gazes of everyone in this court, all focused on your womb. You remember the brief, hopeful swell of your belly, the cautious joy that had blossomed, a tiny, fragile bud in the harsh reality of your life. You had felt a flutter, a faint promise, deep within you. But then came the pain, sharp and sudden, like a dagger twisting, the warmth that turned to dread, the crimson stain, a horrifying confirmation of another loss. The hushed whispers outside your chamber door, the solemn faces of the physicians, their remedies useless against nature's cruel caprice. You felt your body betray you, again and again, failing its most fundamental duty to the crown. The cold, probing hands of the midwives are a familiar, unwelcome touch now. They massage your abdomen with pungent oils, murmur ancient incantations, and offer endless, often contradictory advice. One tells you to eat more lamb's blood, another to carry an amethyst stone. You follow their instructions without question, desperate for any shred of hope, any path that might lead to the desired outcome. You feel like a vessel, not a woman, your worth measured solely by your ability to produce an heir. The pressure is a constant, suffocating blanket. You hear it in the king's strained silence after each failure, in the quiet sigh of your mother-in-law, in the way courtiers suddenly avoid your eyes. The kingdom needs a prince, a direct male line, a guarantee of stability, and you are the queen, the one expected to provide it. You feel the responsibility, like a physical ache in your bones, a burden so immense it threatens to crush you. Your body, already weary from the demands of court life, is pushed to its limits, then beyond, cycle after agonizing cycle. You lie in your vast, cold bed, the tapestries on the walls depicting tales of valiant knights and fertile queens. You trace the patterns with your eyes, feeling the emptiness beside you, even when the king is there. Sleep offers little escape, haunted by dreams of tiny, unheard cries, and the bitter taste of disappointment. Your very existence feels defined by this singular, biological imperative. This relentless, unending expectation for a male heir transforms your body into a battleground and your spirit into a crucible of hope and despair. You are a queen, yes, but first and foremost you are a womb, perpetually waiting, perpetually failing, carrying the weight of an entire kingdom's future within you. The air in the birthing chamber is thick and cloying, a suffocating blend of fear, sweat, and pungent herbal poultices. You gasp for breath, your throat raw, each inhale tasting of iron and desperation. Outside, beyond the heavy oak door, you can hear the faint, rhythmic chanting of prayers, a low, unnerving drone that feels both comforting and terrifying. You grip the edges of the birthing stool, the rough wood digging into your palms, splinters of small, sharp pain compared to the inferno raging within you. Your ladies-in-waiting hover around you, their faces pale and drawn with concern, their whispers like rustling leaves. The head midwife, a formidable woman with hands like gnarled oak, barks commands in a low, urgent tone. You feel her cold hands pressing on your abdomen, her rough fingers exploring, assessing, pushing. There's no gentleness here, only raw, unyielding force directed at the single, monumental task. You try to focus, to follow her instructions, but your body is no longer your own. It is a vessel, consumed by a primal, overwhelming process. A small, leather amulet, filled with dried herbs and a saint's relic, is pressed into your hand. You clutch it tightly, the smooth, cool leather, a small anchor in the storm. You hear a sharp intake of breath from one of your ladies, then a quick, whispered prayer. You know what they're thinking, what everyone in the castle is thinking. The risk, the peril. Medieval childbirth is a gamble, a coin toss between life and death for both mother and child. You feel the cold sweat trickling down your temples, your vision blurring with effort and pain. The room is filled with anxious faces, not just the women of your household, but the Queen Mother, her eyes narrowed with a fierce, almost desperate hope. A priest, solemn-faced, stands in a corner, murmuring blessings, ready for the worst or the best. You are on display even now, in this most intimate and vulnerable of moments. The future of the kingdom hinges on this room, on your strength, on the fragile life struggling within you. Every groan, every strained breath, every surge of pain is scrutinized, interpreted, held aloft as a sign of progress or despair. You feel a final, agonizing push, a tearing, burning sensation that threatens to consume you entirely. Then, a sudden, wet rush, followed by a profound, blessed silence, before it's shattered by a cry. A weak, uncertain sound, but a cry nonetheless. Relief washes over you, dizzying and overwhelming, mixing with the exhaustion. You barely register the frantic movements, the hushed exclamations. The midwife holds something tiny, wrapped in swaddling clothes, its face wrinkled and red. You see the immediate, intense scrutiny of the Queen Mother, her gaze dropping to the bundle, searching. Then, a slow, deep breath, a nod. A prince. You lie back, utterly spent, your body feeling like an empty husk. You are alive. He is alive. You have done your duty. But as you close your eyes, the scent of blood and triumph still heavy in the air, you understand that even a queen, at the height of her power, is utterly beholden to the whims of nature. For a moment, she is simply a woman, fighting for her life, a raw, vulnerable creature, teetering on the precipice between existence and oblivion. You realize that a crown offers no shield against the brutal realities of the flesh, and that for medieval queens the ultimate power was often just to survive. The acrid stench of burning pitch and damp timber stings your nostrils, mingling with the coppery tang of fear. You stand on the battlements, the wind whipping your heavy woolen cloak around you, trying to dislodge your coif. Below, beyond the castle walls, the enemy camp sprawls like a festering wound, dotted with hundreds of small, hungry fires. The air shivers with the distant rhythmic thud of their siege engines, a relentless heartbeat against the stone. You feel the tremor in the ground with each impact, a physical vibration that echoes the anxiety deep in your chest. You scan the horizon, your eyes gritty from sleepless nights, searching for any sign of relief. The horizon remains stubbornly empty. Your gaze falls to the faces of the guardsmen manning the defenses, gaunt, bearded men whose eyes, once fierce, now hold a weary desperation. You offer a small, encouraging nod, a gesture of shared endurance. You see their heads lift, ever so slightly. They look to you, the Queen, not just for orders but for strength, for the unwavering belief that this siege will end. Inside the castle walls, a different kind of battle rages. The air in the great hall, usually bustling with servants and noblemen, is thin and hollow, smelling faintly of stale breadcrumbs and unwashed bodies. The laughter of children is gone, replaced by the low, murmuring whispers of hunger. You walk through the vast kitchens, now eerily quiet, the hearth cold, the spits bare. You run your hand over the rough wood of the empty flour bins. The silence of the storerooms, a stark testament to the blockade tightening around you. You taste the thin, watery gruel that makes up your own meager meal, each mouthful a conscious act of will, devoid of flavor. Your stomach rumbles in protest, a constant, dull ache that has become a familiar companion. You see the children of the castle, their eyes too wide, their movements sluggish, clinging to the skirts of their mothers. You feel their hunger as if it were your own, a sharp, gnawing guilt that no amount of prayer or frantic rationing can alleviate. You've sent out riders, desperate pleas for aid, but the roads are cut, the world outside a hostile, impenetrable wall. You oversee the distribution of the dwindling supplies, measuring out each portion with a heavy heart. Every piece of dried meat, every handful of oats, is a precious resource, a lifeline. You feel the weight of every hungry gaze upon you, knowing that their survival depends on your choices, on the fragile hope you try to project. Your role has shifted from courtly elegance to grim, practical command, a steward of suffering. You realize that the crown, in times of war and famine, is not a symbol of power, but a heavy yoke of responsibility. It's about enduring the gnawing fear for your people, the bitter taste of privation, and the crushing burden of knowing that lives hang in the balance of your every decision. In these moments, the grand illusions of queenship melt away, revealing the raw, vulnerable human beneath, battling not just enemies at the gates, but the very forces of survival itself. The sickly sweet smell of burning juniper and stale vomit assaults you, even within the thick stone walls of your private chambers. It's a scent that has permeated every corner of the castle, a constant, cloying reminder of the invisible enemy that stalks your kingdom. You press a perfumed cloth to your nose, but it does little to mask the pervasive odor of fear and decay. Outside, the familiar sounds of court life, the blacksmith's hammer, the cries of vendors, the cheerful din of children are gone, replaced by an eerie, unsettling silence, broken only by the distant, mournful tolling of church bells. You walk through the usually bustling corridors, now strangely empty, the silence echoing your own dread. Footsteps echo loudly on the cold stone, highlighting the absence of life. Only a handful of servants remain, their faces pale and drawn, their eyes wide with a terror that mirrors your own. They move with a quiet, desperate efficiency, avoiding direct eye contact, as if the disease itself could be passed through a glance. You feel a chill that has nothing to do with the drafty castle, a cold dread that settles deep in your bones. You visit the hastily converted infirmary, a great hall now filled with pallets and the low moans of the afflicted. The air here is thick, heavy, almost suffocating, with the smell of unwashed bodies, medicinal herbs, and death. You feel a pang of fear with every breath you take, every closer step to the fevered patients. You watch the frantic, hopeless efforts of the few remaining healers, their hands stained with poultices, their faces etched with exhaustion. They offer prayers and ancient remedies, but the dark, angry swellings on the necks and armpits of the sick tell a grim story of futility. You see your own loyal chambermaid, Elara, her usually bright eyes glazed with fever, her skin a mottled purple. She reaches for your hand, a desperate, silent plea in her eyes, but you hesitate, your training, your duty, warring with the instinct to offer comfort. You give a small, gentle nod to the priest, who begins the final rites over her, his voice a low, somber murmur against the backdrop of choked gasps. The scene repeats itself, day after day, face after face, until the very concept of life feels fragile, fleeting. The king, your husband, is a phantom, holed up in his own wing, surrounded by priests and burning incense, his face a mask of fear. You are left to manage the spiraling chaos, to try and maintain some semblance of order as the very fabric of society unravels. You hear whispers of villages abandoned, of fields left untended, of fear turning neighbors against each other. You grasp at any news from beyond the castle walls, but most messengers simply disappear, swallowed by the plague-ridden countryside. You realize that this enemy is truly invisible, a phantom in the air, a whisper of death, that no wall can hold, no sword can fight. You feel a profound, helpless rage at its indiscriminate cruelty, its utter disregard for status or power. In these dark days, the queen is not a ruler, but a shepherd, watching her flock dwindle, powerless against a force that mocks all earthly authority. You are simply human, terrified and vulnerable, grappling with the incomprehensible, in a world where death dances unchecked, and hope flickers like a dying ember. The cold, polished stone of the throne chills you even through layers of rich velvet. You shift slightly, a familiar ache settling in your lower back, a constant companion of your later years. The air in the great hall, heavy with the scent of old parchment and wood smoke, carries the hushed murmurs of courtiers, a ceaseless hum that has been the soundtrack of your entire adult life. You've sat on this throne for decades, its unyielding surface, a symbol of the unyielding demands placed upon you. You gaze out at the faces of your court, some young and eager, others etched with the same weariness you feel. So many faces have come and gone. You recall the sharp glances of rivals from your early days, the solemn faces of mourners during the plague, the gaunt, hungry eyes of your people during the siege. Each memory is a small weight, pressing down, adding to the cumulative burden that feels heavy as your crown. Your hand, once smooth and youthful, now shows the faint tracery of age, its skin thin and fragile, yet still firm when you grip the scepter. You feel the immense, unending responsibility, the endless negotiations, the difficult judgments, the perpetual vigilance. Then, for a fleeting moment, a different sensation breaks through. A small hand, warm and surprisingly firm, slips into yours. It's your grandson, Prince Edmund, no longer the tiny infant you once held, but a mischievous boy of 5. He doesn't speak, just squeezes your hand, his eyes bright with an unburdened joy that you rarely encounter. You feel the warmth of his small fingers, a jolt of pure, unadulterated affection that cuts through the cold formality of your surroundings. It's a sudden, unexpected taste of sweetness in a life often bitter. Later, in the privacy of your small solar, the faint scent of wild roses drifts in through the open window, carried on a gentle breeze. It's a memory, a phantom fragrance from a hidden corner of your childhood garden, a place untouched by politics or expectation. You pause your needlework, the fine silk threads slipping through your fingers, and close your eyes. You let the imaginary scent wash over you, conjuring a moment of pure, unadulterated peace, a brief, silent communion with a self you rarely get to acknowledge. It's gone as quickly as it comes, replaced by the reality of the heavy velvet and the waiting documents. You remember another moment, years ago, when a traveling minstrel played a simple, haunting melody in the castle courtyard. You had been watching from a high window, hidden from view, and for a few precious minutes, you weren't a queen. You were just a woman, listening to a beautiful tune, feeling a connection to something utterly human and free. These are the rare gems of your existence, tiny sparks of warmth against the vast, cold landscape of your duty. You return your gaze to the court, the murmuring drone resuming, the stone of the throne still cold beneath you. You realize that for a medieval queen, true joy isn't a state of being, but a series of precious, fleeting moments, stolen glimpses of humanity, amidst a life consumed by the demands of the crown. You carry the weight of an empire, but it is in these small, unexpected slivers of personal warmth that you remember who you truly are, a human soul enduring, striving, and occasionally, just occasionally, finding a moment of quiet solace in the relentless march of time. The cool, familiar pressure of the heavy gold crown rests on your brow, a constant, tangible weight. It is not uncomfortable anymore, merely a part of you, like an extension of your own bone. You sit in your chamber, the fading sunlight casting long shadows across the ancient tapestries. The air, still carrying a faint, lingering scent of beeswax and old stone, feels heavy, with decades of unspoken thoughts and unfulfilled dreams. Your fingers, gnarled now with age, trace the intricate patterns on the armrest of your carved oak chair. Each line, each twist of the wood, feels like a year etched into your own weary body. You look out the window at the sprawling lands, stretching beyond the castle walls, vast and green under the late afternoon sky. This is your kingdom, yours to rule, yours to protect. You've sent armies to battle, signed treaties, overseen the building of churches and bridges. You've held the fate of thousands in your hands, your decisions shaping the very fabric of this realm. You commanded respect, instilled fear, and sometimes even inspired love. The guards at your door, the courtiers who bowed so low, the peasants who spoke your name with reverence. They saw a queen, a powerful figure, almost a force of nature. But you know the truth. You remember the girl who was shipped across a sea, a pawn in a game of empires. You recall the terror of that foreign court, the constant threat of poison or betrayal, the lonely vigilance that became your shadow. You feel the ghost of the searing pains of childbirth, the quiet grief of miscarriages, the relentless expectation for a male heir that consumed your youth. You still taste the thin gruel during siege, still smell the fear and decay of the plague years, when the invisible enemy ravaged your people, and you felt utterly powerless. Your power was immense, yes, a glorious burden. but it was also a crown of thorns, piercing your personal life, leaving little room for anything else. You gave your life, your body, your very soul, to this kingdom, to this duty. Every personal desire was subsumed, every private sorrow hidden behind a regal mask. The young girl who once dreamt of simple joys was long ago sacrificed on the altar of the crown. You were the mother of a nation, but perhaps never fully a woman, free to choose her own path. Yet, as the last rays of sun bathe the room in a soft, golden light, you don't feel regret, only a profound weariness, and a quiet, unyielding pride. You endured, you survived. Through every war, every plague, every betrayal, you stood firm. The crown did not just take from you, it forged you. It demanded everything, and in return, it gave you a strength you never knew you possessed, a resilience that outlived even the bitterest personal loss. You close your eyes, the weight of the crown still on your head. You were a medieval queen. And in that, you realize, lies not just a testament to a life of sacrifice, but to the extraordinary, unyielding capacity of the human spirit to adapt, to lead, and to simply endure, no matter the cost. The year is 1347. You wake up in the middle of a medieval winter, hours before the sun even considers gracing the horizon. You wake up not in a soft, welcoming bed, but sprawled on a thin pallet of rough straw. Its dry, brittle stalks poke insistently at your back. A constant, low-level discomfort that has been your companion through the short, restless night. Even before your eyes fully open to the profound darkness, the pervasive damp assaults your senses. It's a heavy, clinging moisture that seems to seep from the very earth beneath you, chilling your bones to the marrow. Then, the smells hit you, a sharp, acrid bite that stings your nostrils. The lingering wood smoke from a dying fire, now cold ashes, mingled with the unmistakable, pungent aroma of communal latrines, a raw, organic tang that defines this brutal medieval dawn. You instinctively pull the coarse, threadbare blanket tighter around you, a futile gesture against the biting cold that has settled deep in your marrow, an ache that even sleep couldn't fully banish. You push yourself upright, your muscles stiff, protesting with every slight flex. Your bare feet hit the cold, hard-packed earth floor, sending a shocking jolt of icy discomfort through your body, a visceral wake-up call that demands immediate attention. The physical struggle for warmth and light begins. Your hands, raw and calloused, fumble in the pitch black for your rough garments, their coarse texture a familiar scratch against your chilled skin. You dress quickly, mechanically, your breath misting in the frigid air of your cramped, unheated hovel. You can feel the hunger, a persistent, hollow ache, already gnawing in your stomach. The world outside is still cloaked in an inky blackness, only the faintest hint of gray in the eastern sky promising a distant dawn. You step out, your worn boots finding the path by instinct, each stride an ingrained memory. The squelch of mud underfoot is a constant, sickening sound, the cold, viscous liquid seeping through the thin leather of your shoes, numbing your toes. You navigate the dark, uneven path towards the communal well, each step a cautious negotiation with unseen puddles and hidden refuse. The air, though damp and still reeking, is now cut through by the distant, muffled clamor of the waking city. A dog barking, a cart rumbling somewhere far off, the first hoarse cry of a street vendor, still half formed by sleep. These are the sounds of life reluctantly stirring, urging you forward. You reach the well, its rough, cold stone slick with moisture. Your hands grip the icy rope, muscles straining, as you lower the wooden bucket into the unseen depths. The metallic rasp of the rope against the stone echoes in the profound quiet that briefly surrounds the well. When you draw it up, heavy and dripping, your hands are numb, stiff with cold. You bring the bucket to your lips, the water shockingly cold, murky, with a faint, earthy taste that settles on your tongue. It's not refreshing, it's merely sustenance, a stark, raw beginning to another relentless day in this medieval city. In this relentless physical struggle, for warmth, for light, for water, for the simplest elements of survival, you realize how profoundly different your existence is from any cushioned comfort. It is a primal, daily battle for the most basic necessities, a stark testament to the sheer, unyielding will required to simply endure. The heavy, crude door of your hovel bangs shut behind you, momentarily muffling the pre-dawn clamor. You've brought the murky water back from the well, the chill still clinging to your hands, and the pervasive damp of your dwelling continues to seep into your bones. But as you step out of the cramped lane and turn into the main thoroughfare, the world around you utterly explodes. This isn't the muffled, waking city you left moments ago. It's a sensory assault, a vibrant, deafening cacophony that crashes over you, grabbing hold of your very being. The first thing to hit you is the sheer wall of sound. Hawkers, their voices already hoarse, bellow their wares, their cries slicing through the air like sharp knives. Fresh fish! Get your fish! One shouts while another booms. Fine cloth! Warm wool! The frantic bleating of penned sheep and the lowing of cattle add a raw, animalistic layer to the din, competing with the squawk of chickens and the sharp bark of stray dogs. Wooden carts, heavy with sacks of grain and bundles of firewood, clatter and groan over the uneven, muddy cobblestones, their iron-rimmed wheels rattling a percussive rhythm that seems to drive the entire market forward. Beneath it all, a ceaseless, surging human chatter, 1,000 desperate conversations, an immense, living hum that vibrates through the very ground beneath your worn boots. Then comes the smell, a potent, visceral wave that saturates the very air, clinging to your clothing and hair, invading your mouth with a metallic tang. For a brief, almost pleasant moment, you catch the sharp, inviting aroma of exotic spices from a distant stall, perhaps a whiff of freshly baked bread, still warm, from a baker's cart. But this fleeting pleasantness is quickly, brutally overpowered by something far more pervasive. The musky, close odor of unwashed bodies, pressed together in their hundreds, a thick, primal human scent that is inescapable. Layered with this is the pungent, undeniable stench of animal waste, trodden into the perpetually muddy ground, and the faint, sickly sweet decay of dropped food, rotting produce, and human refuse that gathers in the gutters. It's a suffocating miasma, a constant, unavoidable reminder of this crowded, unsanitary world. You are immediately swallowed by the surging crowd, a relentless, living tide that sweeps you forward, then pulls you back. Bodies press against you from all sides, a constant, jostling pressure. You feel the rough, coarse wool of a passerby's cloak brush against your cheek, the unexpected firmness of a broad shoulder against your own, the subtle nudge of an elbow in your ribs. There is no concept of personal space here, only a collective struggle for passage, an intimate, unavoidable contact with countless other lives, each movement a delicate negotiation, Your eyes dart, struggling to take in the vibrant, yet profoundly unsanitary tapestry of goods spread before you. Heaps of glistening, freshly caught fish, their scales catching the dim light, lie beside bowls of honey-sweet dates, sticky with flies. Bolts of rough-spun cloth, dyed in muted earth tones of brown and gray, hang beside gleaming, freshly forged tools. But all of it sits precariously atop the perpetually muddy ground, surrounded by scrabbling stray animals, and the undeniable omnipresent filth that seems to seep from the very stones. This daily scramble for sustenance, this ceaseless push and pull of bodies and commerce, requires profound effort. You find yourself moving with the crowd, your movements a blend of personal intent and collective flow. You exchange a brief, wary glance with another shopper, a silent acknowledgement of the shared struggle. In this overwhelming environment, where every step is a battle and every purchase a gamble, a raw, undeniable sense of community is forged, a collective reliance born not of choice, but of sheer immediate necessity. The heat hits you like a physical blow the moment you push through the rough wooden door of the blacksmith's forge. It's an oppressive, baking warmth that immediately saps the breath from your lungs, mingling with the biting cold drafts that seep through cracks in the walls. The air, already thick with the acrid, metallic tang of burning coal and hot iron, sears your nostrils, a constant, choking presence that feels like it's coating your throat and teeth. You step further in, and the stench of sweat, pungent and insistent, mixes with the sharp, almost painful scent of quenching water hitting superheated metal. The sound is a shockwave, a relentless assault that vibrates through the very ground beneath your worn boots, rattling your bones. Clang, clang, thud. The rhythmic, bone-jarring thud of hammer on steel is a deafening, percussive symphony, a monstrous heartbeat that drowns out all other thought. It's a sound that drills into your skull, a primal, insistent rhythm of creation and destruction. Blinding sparks, like angry, golden rain, erupt with each powerful strike, showering around you, forcing your eyes to narrow against their searing brilliance, leaving momentary white spots dancing in your vision. The air hums, a low, constant vibration that never truly leaves your ears. Your hands, calloused and thick as old leather, ingrained with layers of soot and grime that no amount of scrubbing can ever fully remove, grip the heavy hammer. The rough, worn wood of the handle is familiar, a second skin. As you lift it, your muscles protest with a deep, burning ache in your shoulders and back, a familiar, persistent pain that defines your existence. You feel the immense weight, the raw power held within the tool. With a focused grunt, you bring the hammer down. Mess de moon, 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 mess de moon. The vibration travels up your arms, a deep thrumming that never truly leaves, even when you lower the tool. Your eyes, gritty and squinting against the heat and light, focus with absolute precision on the glowing, malleable steel. Each strike is a conscious act of skill, years of practice honed into instinct, a dance between raw force and delicate control. There is no room for error here. A slight miscalculation, a moment of weakness, a flickering lapse in concentration, and the consequences are immediate, tangible, and often brutal. A burnt hand, a ruined piece of metal, that means a docked wage, a splintered hammer that could fly apart, The heat intensifies, making the sweat prickle on your brow, then run in stinging rivulets into your eyes. You taste the salt of it on your lips, mingling with the metallic air. This is a life lived on the edge, where skill and focus are paramount, where every strike of the hammer is a gamble, and the metal you shape is as unforgiving as the world outside. In this crucible of heat and noise, where brute force meets delicate art, you learn that true mastery isn't just about strength. It's about an unyielding focus, a deep connection to the material, and a profound respect for the immediate, tangible consequences of every action, forging not just steel, but a relentless human resilience. The rich, earthy aroma of seasoned oak, aged and dry, fills your nostrils as you lean in, a deep, comforting scent that speaks of time and patience. Your calloused fingers trace the smooth, cool curve of a newly carved leg, destined for a sturdy table. This is the heart of creation, where raw material slowly yields to human will, where artistry emerges from the mundane. You take up your chisel, the keen edge glinting, and a small, almost reverent sigh escapes you. There is no urgency in this work, no foreman's lash or clanging bell to drive your pace, only the deep, internal rhythm of the craft. The soft tap-tap-tap of your mallet against the chisel echoes, muted, in the quiet workshop, followed by the satisfying shush as a thin, fragrant curl of wood peels away, falling silently to the floor. You feel the living grain of the seasoned oak, knowing its subtle resistance, understanding its hidden knots, and the way it yields under pressure. Each cut is a conversation, a precise, measured stroke guided by years of patient observation, and the wisdom passed down from your master, then his master, through generations. Your body is attuned to the material, an extension of the tool, coaxing the desired form from the raw timber, slowly revealing the beauty hidden within. This isn't just wood, it's a future, a solid, dependable piece that will support a family's meals, hold their most precious belongings, or stand as a steadfast guardian to their home. You spend hours, days, sometimes weeks, with a single piece, the rich aroma of seasoned wood filling your lungs with every breath, a taste of honest labor. The rhythmic scrape of sandpaper smoothing a surface, the careful application of a beeswax finish, making the grain gleam beneath your touch. These are acts of devotion. You finally pick up a component of hand-forged iron, perhaps a sturdy hinge or an intricate decorative bracket, still carrying the faint metallic tang of the forge, a ghost of fire and hammer. Its satisfying weight, its cool, dense solidity, feels perfect in your hand. Your fingers, calloused and knowing, fit it precisely into place, the wood and metal joining with an almost audible sigh, each crafted element honoring the other. You run your palm over the seamless joint, feeling the strength of the union, the integrity of the whole. There's a profound personal satisfaction in this, a quiet, deep pride that settles in your chest, warmer than any hearth. This table, this chest, this door, it is an extension of yourself, a piece of your very effort and skill made manifest. It will last. It will serve a family for generations, enduring countless meals, countless stories, countless lives. It won't be cast aside after a mere season. It will be cherished, repaired with care, passed down as an heirloom. You imagine the hands that will touch it, the weight it will bear, the memories it will hold, becoming a silent, steadfast part of their history. This deliberate pace, this intimate, almost sacred connection to creation, stands in stark contrast to the fleeting, disposable objects of a world yet to come. It speaks to a time when effort, infused an object with soul, when skill was visibly woven into every fiber, every curve, every joint, creating not just utility, but a legacy. It highlights how humanity, in its deep-rooted ingenuity and profound patience, could create lasting beauty and enduring value, not just for itself, but for the very fabric of the community. In this quiet act of making, you find a profound dignity, a testament to the human spirit's capacity to find meaning and even artistry in the demanding, honest work of its hands. The oppressive warmth near the smoking hearth, once a comforting shield against the biting medieval chill, quickly dissipates into the dwelling's pervasive cold. You feel the heat drain from your skin, replaced by a creeping dampness that seems to emanate from the very stone walls, settling deep into your bones. The lingering wood smoke, once a sign of life, now hangs heavy and acrid in the air, a thick, suffocating presence that catches in your throat, a taste of ash on your tongue. In the encroaching gloom, as the last embers of the fire die to a sullen red glow, a different kind of sound emerges. A persistent, itchy scurry beneath the straw of your palate, a faint rustle in the dark corners. You strain your ears, knowing it's the unseen, ever-present threat of vermin, mice, rats, their tiny, frantic movements, a constant reminder of their presence, a low-level anxiety that prickles your skin and keeps your senses painfully alert. You can almost feel them, tiny claws, brushing against unseen surfaces, a persistent, unnerving invasion of your supposed sanctuary. Dinner is a meager affair, a simple pottage, served in rough, unglazed wooden bowls. You bring the spoonful to your lips, the taste bland, watery, a thin gruel that offers little comfort. Yet you eat it slowly, methodically, savoring each mouthful, a stark, constant reminder of the pervasive fear of hunger, of a failed harvest that could plunge your family into a deeper, unimaginable void. The rough texture of the wooden bowl against your hands, its worn surface warm from the pottage, is a familiar, unyielding presence. When you set it down, the cold shock of the stone floor beneath your bare feet travels instantly through your body, a visceral jolt that reaffirms your vulnerability, your constant battle against the elements. Around you, in the cramped, single room, your family huddles close. You feel the press of bodies, the soft brush of a child's arm, the warmth of another breath beside you. There is no personal space here, no privacy. Every sigh, every movement, every low murmur is shared. The dim light of a flickering tallow candle, its small flame barely chasing back the pervasive darkness, illuminates their tired faces. Lines of worry etched around eyes that meet yours with a silent, mutual understanding. You see their thinness, the exhaustion that mirrors your own, and a profound, desperate ache settles in your chest. This shared existence, this constant, vulnerable closeness, is both a burden and your only solace. This is life lived on the edge, where every taste, every touch, every sound reinforces your constant vulnerability. In this ceaseless battle against cold, hunger, and unseen threats, you find that merely enduring, day in and day out, becomes the most profound act of resilience. It's a life where every night is a fragile victory, a testament to the stubborn human will to persist. The silent, ever-present specter of illness is a constant companion in your small, cramped dwelling. You lie on your hard straw bed, and in the profound quiet of the night, you hear it. The soft, persistent, rasping cough from your eldest child, a sound that tightens your chest, a chilling whisper of a familiar terror. You reach out in the darkness, your hand seeking their brow. The skin feels clammy, unnervingly warm, not yet burning with fever, but close. This is the dance, the agonizing vigilance against the invisible foe that claims lives without warning, leaving a chilling void in its wake. There is no modern medicine, no soothing syrups, no powerful remedies to ease the cough, only prayers, desperate hope, and the rough poultice of the village healer, whose pungent smell still lingers in the air. You remember the last time, the profound, gut-wrenching grief for a child lost too soon, a tiny life extinguished before it barely began. You remember the chilling cold of their small, still hand in yours, the profound silence that replaced their vibrant laughter. That memory, sharp and cold, underscores life's inherent precariousness, its terrifying fragility in this brutal world. It's a wound that never truly heals, a constant ache that reminds you of how fleeting, how precious, every single breath truly is. This constant dance with mortality, this intimate familiarity with death, is a stark reality that shapes every day. You witness it in the neighbors' hovels, in the quiet procession to the burial ground, in the empty spaces at communal meals. It's a relentless presence that would crush a lesser spirit. Yet, in the face of this overwhelming vulnerability, humanity finds ways to cope, to endure. You attend the small, somber ceremony for a lost neighbor. The air is thick, with the scent of damp earth and wood smoke, but also with the quiet strength of shared hardship. You join the communal prayers, your voice a low murmur with the others, the familiar words a profound comfort in their ancient rhythm. You feel the rough wool of your neighbor's cloak as you stand shoulder to shoulder, a tangible connection, a silent acknowledgement of mutual sorrow and support. The rituals, simple as they are, the blessing of water, the shared bread, become anchors in a world that constantly threatens to unravel. They offer a fragile, yet powerful solace, a way to process grief, to maintain a thread of hope against the encroaching despair, and in that acute appreciation for every precious, fragile life that still breathes, that still laughs, that still shares your existence, you find a renewed, fierce determination. Each morning's sunrise, each shared meal, each moment of simple human connection becomes a small, hard-won victory. It's a profound testament to human resilience, to the enduring capacity to find meaning, comfort, and even a strange kind of beauty in the very shadow of death. This harsh intimacy with mortality, though terrifying, also sharpens your perception of life's deepest value, an indelible lesson etched into your very soul. You step into the town square, and the world erupts. A deafening roar slams into you, a physical blow of sound that vibrates in your chest, momentarily stealing your breath. This isn't simply noise. It's a thrilling, discordant blend, 1,000 individual clamors merging into one immense, living entity. Pipes shriek, high and reedy, weaving through the deep, resonant thunder of drums, their rhythmic thudding pulsing through the very ground beneath your worn boots. Fervent shouts, a mix of prayers, exclamations, and raw human emotion, rise and fall in crashing waves, a constant, low hum of a vast crowd, swelling and receding, but never truly quieting. It's a cacophony that drowns out all individual thought, pulling you into its relentless current. Your eyes, accustomed to the drab browns and grays of daily life, are instantly assaulted by a dizzying kaleidoscope of color. Vibrant banners, heavy with rich dyes and emblazoned with saints and religious symbols, snap and billow in the brisk air, a magnificent visual spectacle against the pale sky. Gleaming crucifixes and painted iconography are held aloft, catching the light, their intricate details momentarily vivid before the shifting crowd carries them past. Simple rough woolens are transformed with ribbons, patches, and hastily adorned flowers, creating a riotous explosion of life, a stark, glorious contrast to the usual somber reality. Then, the aroma hits you. The heavy, sweet perfume of frankincense, burning from ornate censers, mingles with 1,000 other scents. It's intoxicating, an almost spiritual tang that cuts through the mundane. But beneath it, ever present, is the sharp, earthy odor of hundreds of unwashed bodies, pressed close, mingled with the pungent tang of sweat, the faint, yeasty smell of ale, and the damp earth of the square itself. It's a powerful, visceral blend that roots you firmly in the raw, immediate reality of this gathering. The crowd presses in on you, a human tide that sweeps you forward. You feel the rough wool of countless cloaks brushing against your arm, the accidental, jarring nudge of shoulders and elbows, the collective warmth of so many bodies packed tight. You are no longer merely an observer. You are part of it. A wave of emotion, primal and powerful, washes over you, overwhelming the individual. It's a dizzying blend of awe at the spectacle, perhaps a touch of fear at its sheer intensity, and the raw, unbridled energy, and an undeniable communal joy that swells from deep within the collective. Your own voice, hoarse and unpracticed, finds itself joining the fervent shouts, a raw, almost involuntary sound of your own, becoming one with the immense chorus. In this intense, shared public experience, amidst the intoxicating blend of sight, sound, and smell, your individual self recedes. You are simply a thread in a vast, vibrant tapestry, connected, for this fleeting, powerful moment, to something far larger than yourself. It is in these moments of profound collective fervor, when individual identity is momentarily surrendered to the surging power of the multitude, that the human spirit truly shows its capacity for both transcendent unity and terrifying, unthinking force. The echoes of the fervent chant still hum in your ears, a deep vibration that settles in your bones, long after the last pipe has quieted and the drums have fallen silent. The riotous explosion of color has receded, leaving the town square to the fading light, but your mind still holds the dazzling afterimage of vibrant banners and gleaming religious iconography. The intoxicating scent of frankincense, though slowly dissipating, still clings to your threadbare clothes, mingling with the earthy dampness of the square and the ghost of sweat, a potent aroma that triggers a lingering sense of awe. You move with the dispersing crowd, a slow, gentle current now, not the surging river of moments ago. Your body feels heavy, yet strangely lightened, as if a great weight has been both placed upon and lifted from your shoulders. You brush against strangers, but the contact is different now. There's a quiet understanding in their eyes, a shared exhaustion mingled with a profound sense of having been part of something immense. This public emotional release has offered a rare, potent break from the daily grind, a complete surrender to something larger than yourself. You feel the profound power of that shared belief, that collective fear or fervent hope that binds this community, pulling you all into a single, unified pulse. You watch the faces of those around you, illuminated by the last vestiges of twilight and the flicker of scattered torches. Some are still rapt, their eyes wide with religious ecstasy, a deep, almost frightening devotion etched onto their features. Others bear expressions of quiet, humbled terror, perhaps from the impassioned sermon, or the vivid depictions of divine wrath that were presented. You see a woman clutching a rough wooden crucifix, her knuckles white, her gaze fixed on the heavens, a testament to a faith that asks for everything. This raw reality of intense religious devotion shapes individual psyches in ways unimaginable today, carving deep grooves of belief and fear that will define their every action from this day forward. The relentless clamor of the market, the dull ache of physical labor, these daily realities, though waiting for you tomorrow, seem distant, softened by the memory of this spectacle. This isn't the passive entertainment of a modern screen. This is a visceral, communal experience, physically felt, emotionally consuming, a memory imprinted not just in your mind but in the very fiber of your being. You were a part of it, and it became a part of you. This raw, unfiltered spectacle fulfilled a deep human need for belonging, for awe, for meaning beyond the mundane, creating a unique, collective memory that will be whispered around hearths for generations. In this lingering echo of shared fervor, you understand that even in a world of harsh realities, the human spirit yearns for moments when it can transcend itself, when it can merge with something greater, finding comfort and meaning in the collective heart. The heavy clang of the city gate shutting behind you isn't just a sound, it's a physical severing. The oppressive clamor of the market, the distant shouts, the insistent bleating of livestock, the ceaseless thrum of countless lives. It all falls away with startling speed, leaving behind a profound quiet that makes your ears ring. A sudden, almost dizzying silence envelops you, vast and deep. The air, crisp and remarkably clean, hits your lungs with a shocking purity, a sensory balm that feels almost alien after the city's perpetual miasma. You breathe deeply, relishing the cold, clean bite, but it also feels like an immediate, unsettling exposure of vulnerability. You hear it now. Sounds that were utterly lost in the city's roar. The delicate rustling of dry leaves underfoot. A soft whisper that seems to echo in the stillness. A distant bird cry, clear and sharp, pierces the quiet, emphasizing its immense, untamed vastness. The earth beneath your worn boots is no longer cobblestone or muddy street, but an uneven, muddy path. A treacherous ribbon winding into the unknown. Each step is an effort, your foot sinking into soft patches, catching on exposed roots, demanding constant vigilant attention. You feel the cold dampness seep through the worn leather of your shoes, the ground's unevenness requiring your full focus to avoid a stumble, a twisted ankle, a moment of weakness. Your senses, honed by city survival, now reorient to a different kind of danger. The vast, untamed wilderness stretches out on either side, a dark, silent presence, its dense foliage concealing unseen threats. Every snapped twig in the undergrowth, every sudden shadow, ignites a primal fear, a sharp, cold prickle that runs down your spine. You glance nervously over your shoulder, then ahead, acutely aware of not just wild beasts lurking in the shadowed woods, but the lurking possibility of bandits, drawn to solitary travelers on this exposed road. The air, for all its cleanliness, now carries the damp, earthy smell of deep forest, of decay and raw growth, a reminder of its indifference. A profound, visceral sense of isolation settles deep in your chest, the reassuring, if chaotic, press of human bodies in the city is gone. You are small, vulnerable, an insignificant speck against this immense, indifferent landscape. The perceived comfort of the city's crowded chaos, for all its harshness and filth, now seems a distant, impossible luxury, a forgotten haven. You walk, your heart a steady drum against the immense silence, the cold air raising goosebumps on your exposed skin, a testament to your solitary defiance in the face of an unforgiving world. In this stark transition, from the teeming city to the wild edge of civilization, you learn that true quiet is not always peaceful, and true freedom often comes with the most profound and terrifying solitude. The heavy, coarse wool of your cloak rubs against your neck, a familiar irritation as you tramp onward. The city gates are long behind you, their clamor a fading echo in your memory. Now, your only companions are the crunch of dry leaves under your worn boots, and the insistent, rhythmic thud of your own heart against your ribs. This is medieval travel, an arduous odyssey, and every step on this uneven, muddy path is an effort, a deliberate exertion of will. The rough wooden stick in your hand, your only aid, strikes the ground with a dull thwack, testing the treacherous terrain. The air around you is crisp, clean, carrying the invigorating scent of pine and damp earth, a stark contrast to the city's perpetual miasma. Yet this very purity is a double-edged sword, a profound exposure. The breathtaking grandeur of the untouched landscapes stretches endlessly on either side. Ancient, towering trees, their skeletal branches reaching towards a pale winter sky, or rolling hills, their contours softened by a thin layer of frost. It's a beauty so fierce, so untamed, that it feels almost overwhelming, pulling at something deep within you. But this majesty is fiercely juxtaposed with ever-present threats. Every snap of a twig, every sudden rustle in the undergrowth, sends a jolt of ice through your veins, igniting a primal fear. You glance nervously, your hand instinctively tightening on your stick, acutely aware of bandits or hungry, unseen beasts lurking in the shadowed depths of the forest. The vastness itself feels threatening, indifferent. Your meager provisions, a small, hard piece of dried bread, and a skin of murky water, weigh lightly but insistently in your pack. The taste of the dry bread, chewed slowly, offers little pleasure, only a momentary respite from the gnawing hunger. Your mouth is perpetually dry, your lips chapped by the biting wind. The cold seeps into your exposed skin, chilling your fingers and toes, but you push on, driven by a deep, constant longing. You crave the simple comforts of a distant village, the imagined warmth of a blazing fire on your skin, the comforting aroma of wood smoke and cooking food, the fleeting promise of a safe bed where you might truly rest, free from the ever-present threat of danger. Each bend in the road, each crest of a hill, is met with a surge of desperate hope, a straining of your eyes for the first wisp of chimney smoke, the first glimpse of a thatched roof. This experience, this relentless march across a wild, unpredictable world, forges an enduring human resilience within you. It's a profound reverence for nature, born not of choice, but of stark necessity, of recognizing its power, its beauty, and its indifference. Your perception of the world becomes vastly different, limited by the horizon, by the reach of your own feet, by the immediate threats of the path. The world is immense, terrifying, and profoundly real. In the steady rhythm of your footsteps, in the stark silence of the untamed land, you realize that true strength isn't just in surviving, but in carrying that longing, that fragile hope, for simple warmth and safety, through an odyssey that demands everything you have. The year is 1347. You wake up in the middle of a medieval winter, hours before the sun even considers gracing the horizon. You wake up not in a soft, welcoming bed, but sprawled on a thin pallet of rough straw. It's dry, Brittle stalks poke insistently at your back, a constant, low-level discomfort that has been your companion through the short, restless night. Even before your eyes fully open to the profound darkness, the pervasive damp assaults your senses. It's a heavy, clinging moisture that seems to seep from the very earth beneath you, chilling your bones to the marrow. Then the smells hit you. A sharp, acrid bite that stings your nostrils. The lingering wood smoke from a dying fire, now cold ashes, mingled with the unmistakable, pungent aroma of communal latrines. A raw, organic tang that defines this brutal medieval dawn. You instinctively pull the coarse, threadbare blanket tighter around you, a futile gesture against the biting cold that has settled deep in your marrow, an ache that even sleep couldn't fully banish. You push yourself upright, your muscles stiff, protesting with every slight flex. Your bare feet hit the cold, hard-packed earth floor, sending a shocking jolt of icy discomfort through your body, a visceral wake-up call that demands immediate attention. The physical struggle for warmth and light begins. Your hands, raw and calloused, fumble in the pitch black for your rough garments, their coarse texture a familiar scratch against your chilled skin. You dress quickly, mechanically, your breath misting in the frigid air of your cramped, unheated hovel. You can feel the hunger, a persistent, hollow ache, already gnawing in your stomach. The world outside is still cloaked in an inky blackness, only the faintest hint of gray in the eastern sky promising a distant dawn. You step out, your worn boots finding the path by instinct, each stride an ingrained memory. The squelch of mud underfoot is a constant, sickening sound, the cold, viscous liquid seeping through the thin leather of your shoes, numbing your toes. You navigate the dark, uneven path towards the communal well, each step a cautious negotiation with unseen puddles and hidden refuse. The air, though damp and still reeking, is now cut through by the distant, muffled clamor of the waking city, a dog barking, a cart rumbling somewhere far off, the first hoarse cry of a street vendor, still half-formed by sleep. These are the sounds of life reluctantly stirring, urging you forward. You reach the well, its rough, cold stone slick with moisture. Your hands grip the icy rope, muscles straining as you lower the wooden bucket into the unseen depths. The metallic rasp of the rope against the stone echoes in the profound quiet that briefly surrounds the well. When you draw it up, heavy and dripping, your hands are numb, stiff with cold. You bring the bucket to your lips, the water shockingly cold, murky, with a faint, earthy taste that settles on your tongue. It's not refreshing. It's merely sustenance, a stark, raw beginning to another relentless day in this medieval city. In this relentless physical struggle for warmth, for light, for water, for the simplest elements of survival, you realize how profoundly different your existence is from any cushioned comfort. It is a primal, daily battle for the most basic necessities, a stark testament to the sheer, unyielding will required to simply endure. You sit in the crowded tavern, the familiar clamor of laughter and clinking mugs filling the smoky air, thick with the cloying scent of stale ale and damp wool. But tonight, beneath the usual boisterousness, a subtle shift begins to stir, an undercurrent of tension that prickles the back of your neck. The gossip, usually about local squabbles or the price of grain, takes on a darker, more hushed edge, whispers weaving through the din like insidious smoke. You strain to catch phrases about strange deaths in distant ports, stories carried here on the unpredictable, salt-laden breeze from newly arrived ships, a faint, briny tang still catching in your nostrils. An uneasy silence falls over a group when a particular name is mentioned, followed by quick, wary glances exchanged across the room. You feel a cold knot begin to tighten in your stomach. The familiar chimes of the church bells, which once marked the comforting rhythm of your day, a call to prayer, a toll for a known passing, now seem to linger, their echoes stretching longer than usual, reverberating with an unknown solemnity. They no longer feel like a comforting presence, but a somber, almost mournful warning, each chime carrying a new, unspoken weight. Later, at the communal evening meal, the rough warmth of the wooden table under your hand is still a small refuge. You share the simple pottage, its bland taste now somehow muted by a nascent fear, a faint, bitter undercurrent on your tongue. The usual easy laughter around the hearth feels strained, brittle. Some faces around you, familiar and dear, appear more drawn than before, their eyes holding a flicker of apprehension that they try, unsuccessfully, to hide behind a forced smile. Outside, in the dusty courtyards, children continue their boisterous games, their shouts and innocent squeals a stark, jarring contrast to the growing unease among their elders. Their obliviousness is a painful, almost heartbreaking reminder of the encroaching dread you feel, a shield of innocence you wish you could still wear. You find your hand instinctively reaching for the familiar rough feel of your wooden rosary, its smooth beads worn by countless prayers. It's a desperate, physical grasp for certainty in a world suddenly feeling less stable, a tangible anchor in a sea of rising anxiety. You clutch it, the cool wood pressing into your palm, a small comfort. For a brief moment, you stand by the weathered city walls, watching the profound beauty of a sunset, painting the sky in fiery oranges, deep purples, and soft bleeding reds. It offers a momentary, breathtaking respite, a visual feast that momentarily stills the growing anxiety in your chest. The vibrant colors are a last, defiant burst against the encroaching night, but then, a sudden, inexplicable chill seeps into the air, colder and sharper than the fading light should warrant. Or perhaps it's the uncharacteristic silence of a usually chatty neighbor, their door firmly shut, that brings that nascent fear back into sharp, unsettling focus. Your breath catches, a cold prickle runs down your arms. This gradual encroachment of dread, this primal, instinctual warning whispered on the wind and reflected in troubled eyes, contrasts sharply with the immediate, scientific alerts of our modern age. It underscores the profound vulnerability of a society reliant on word of mouth and superstition, where the line between natural misfortune and divine wrath was constantly blurred, and where an unseen enemy was far more terrifying than any visible foe. In this slow, creeping realization, you understand the true weight of living on the precipice, where every rumor holds the power to shape your deepest fears, and silence can be the most terrifying sound of all. It's a collective unease, a tightening in the communal heart, that marks the subtle beginning of a much larger downfall. The city's vibrant pulse, once a ceaseless cacophony of life, now begins to falter, its familiar rhythm replaced by an insidious, chilling silence that presses in on your ears. And then, the smell. It's a sweet, cloying decay that permeates the very air, so unlike the usual tang of wood smoke and refuse. This is the unmistakable stench of sickness and death, a heavy aroma that clings to your clothes, seeps into your hair, and settles, metallic and bitter, at the back of your throat, a taste that refuses to leave. It's not merely putrefaction. It's something deeper, more profound, a sickening sweetness that hints at a rampant corruption. The first visible signs are horrifying. You see them on a neighbor, on a stranger clutching their arm, and then, with a jolt of terror, on a passing child. Dark, swollen lumps, the size of eggs, erupt in the armpits and groin, beneath the ear, their skin stretched taut, glistening, a grotesque purple-black. The sight of these buboes, alien and horrifying, sends a shiver of dread through even the bravest heart, making your stomach clench with cold fear. You avert your gaze, but the image is burned into your mind. A hacking cough, dry and ragged, once an occasional nuisance, now becomes a common sound, echoing from every dwelling, from every shadowed alley. It's followed by the agonizing wheeze of labored breath from those confined to their beds, a sound that tears at your soul, reminding you of the desperate, losing battle being waged within their bodies. You stand at a doorway, and the air itself, thick and heavy, carries the scent of feverish sweat and desperate herbs. To touch a fevered brow, as you do with your own child, is to feel the terrifying heat of an internal inferno, consuming their small body from within, a searing heat that prickles your own palm. A once bustling market stall, usually overflowing with vibrant goods, and the loud cries of its proprietor, now stands abandoned. Its wares, a forgotten pile of apples, a half-eaten loaf of bread, sit untouched, gathering dust. The chilling emptiness of it is a stark, sudden testament to the disappearance of its owner, a void where life once thrived. Fear, a cold, clammy hand, grips every interaction, replacing the familiar warmth of human contact with a palpable, unsettling distance. You instinctively recoil from a casual brush of a stranger's cloak, your eyes darting, searching for any sign, any symptom. The very act of breathing feels precarious, as if the air itself is tainted, carrying the invisible enemy on every current. This initial onslaught, the bewildering speed and ferocity of the disease, plunges the entire community into a disorienting blend of confusion and terror. There are no clear diagnostics, no understanding of what this invisible assailant truly is, only its horrifying, incomprehensible effects. You watch, helpless, as victims suffer and die, their cries echoing the collective despair of a population utterly without answers, utterly without defense. The world, once familiar, has twisted into a landscape of dread, and you realize with a chilling certainty that nothing will ever be the same. The low hum of unease, which had been a persistent current beneath the city's life, quickly escalates into a deafening crescendo of raw panic. The familiar tolling of church bells, once a comforting signal for prayer or a joyous celebration, now morphs into a constant, mournful dirge. Lankea. So Asian. Lankea. Paxo Asian. Asian. Aprectas Garm. Monty Forays. Lankea. The podcast. Its clangorous rhythm becomes the new, chilling heartbeat of the city. A relentless soundtrack to an unfolding nightmare, marking the ceaseless, terrifying procession of deaths. You hear it in your bones, a constant, sickening vibration that never truly leaves. Through the grimy window of your hovel, you see it, the grim procession of death carts, their wooden wheels creaking mournfully over the cobblestones, a sound that becomes a chilling harbinger of doom. Their drivers, cloaked in hooded figures, their faces obscured by cloths soaked in vinegar, call out in hoarse, haunting voices that echo through the deserted streets. Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead. The call, once alien, is now a chillingly familiar lullaby of terror. Neighbors, once familiar and trusted faces with whom you shared bread and laughter, now eye each other with profound suspicion. Their faces are pale, drawn with fear, their eyes wide and darting, actively avoiding physical contact, even a shared glance. A friendly nod becomes a dangerous gesture. You feel the palpable distance that separates you, a chasm of fear where communal solidarity once thrived. The comfortable sense of belonging fractures into 1,000 individual struggles for survival, each family an isolated island against a rising tide of death. The air, thick with the stench of sickness and decay, now feels cold, heavy, laden with unspoken dread. The desperate cries of the dying pierce the night, unheeded, their ragged gasps and mournful pleas echoing from sealed doors, from darkened windows. You hear them, even as you press your own hands over your ears, a desperate, futile attempt to block out the torment, to protect your own family inside. Families seal themselves indoors, the rough wood of their doors and shutters offering a fragile, almost laughable barrier against the invisible killer that stalks the streets. The once vibrant sounds of daily life, the rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the cheerful shout of the street vendor, the distant braying of a donkey, are replaced by an eerie, profound silence. It's a void, broken only by the relentless, mournful tolling of the bells and the agonizing moans of the afflicted, a symphony of despair. This profound isolation, this forced severance of human connection, in the face of widespread, incomprehensible death, provides a stark contrast to our interconnected modern world. Here, trust erodes with terrifying speed, and the very fabric of society begins to unravel under the crushing weight of an unyielding plague. In this terrifying new reality, you realize that the greatest casualty isn't just the countless lives lost, but the collective soul of a community, stripped bare by fear and despair, leaving behind an indelible mark on every survivor. The city, once a vibrant organism teeming with life, now feels like a hollowed-out shell. The incessant tolling of the bells has finally ceased, leaving behind an eerie, profound silence that presses in on your ears, a weight more suffocating than any clamor. Only the occasional gust of wind whistles mournfully through deserted alleys, a ghostly sigh in the stillness, carrying not the distant sounds of industry, but something far more chilling. The pungent odor of decay is now undeniable, a heavy, cloying presence that saturates the very air. It's no longer just the stench of sickness, but the raw, sickening sweet tang of putrefaction mingling with the unemptied waste that piles in every gutter, a grim, visceral testament to the complete collapse of civic order. You breathe it in, each inhale a conscious effort against the nauseating weight that settles, metallic and bitter, at the back of your throat. You walk through streets that were once bustling, your worn boots now making the only sound. Cobblestones, once worn smooth by countless hurried footsteps, are now overgrown with stubborn weeds, their green tendrils pushing defiantly through the cracks, a stark, visual metaphor for life receding, reclaiming what humanity has abandoned. The market square, once a chaotic heart, is a silent, grotesque tableau. Stalls lie overturned, wares scattered, some stripped bare, others left to rot, flies buzzing lazily around the decaying produce. The gnawing ache of hunger in your stomach has become a new, unwanted companion, a constant, dull throb that intensifies with the sight of every deserted storefront, every empty display. The chill of fear isn't just a feeling. It's a pervasive presence, settling deep into your bones, a constant, internal shudder. It's a relentless, cold dread, a physical reminder of the unseen enemy that has emptied the streets, leaving only ghosts, You glance around, your eyes darting, searching for any sign of life, but finding only an unnerving stillness. Then, you see them. Unburied bodies, abandoned in doorways, slumped against walls, or piled haphazardly in makeshift pits at the edge of the square. Their forms, once vital and full of a unique story, are now merely grotesque, silent testimony to the plague's indiscriminate harvest. The sight, initially horrifying, now registers with a dull, sickening ache. Your senses, dulled by repeated exposure, are no longer shocked. They are merely hardened, transforming the once bustling metropolis into a city of the dead, a chilling testament to oblivion. Homes that once teemed with life, their doors usually firmly shut against the elements, are now silent, their rough wooden doors ajar, swaying slightly on rusted hinges in the wind. You glimpse interiors, still and dust-laden, revealing snapshots of interrupted lives, a forgotten meal still on a rough table, a child's toy lying discarded, a half-finished piece of mending. These quiet scenes speak volumes of sudden, desperate departures, of lives abruptly, irrevocably cut short. The desperation for clean water becomes acute, a bitter taste of thirst on your parched lips. Communal wells, once vibrant hubs of daily life, are now either deserted, their ropes frayed, or regarded with profound suspicion, rumored to be tainted, their water a potential death sentence. You carry your empty bucket, the weight of its emptiness, a physical burden, the taste of dry desperation, a constant presence. This profound breakdown of infrastructure, this abrupt cessation of essential services, presents a stark image of societal collapse. It is a world far removed from the organized responses to modern crises, where collective function has dissolved into individual, desperate attempts at survival. The city, once a vibrant organism, now feels like a hollowed-out shell, its eerie silence punctuated only by the occasional gust of wind whistling mournfully through deserted alleys. You step into what was once your church, a sanctuary. The air within is cold, thick with the pervasive, sickening odor of decay that clings to every stone, mingling with the unemptied waste from the surrounding streets, a grim testament to the collapse of civic order. There is no comforting scent of incense, no warmth of burning candles, only the damp, acrid tang of despair. The pews are empty, their rough wood cold beneath your fingertips. No comforting murmur of prayers, no soaring hymns. The once comforting presence of priests and clerics, those shepherds of souls, has vanished. Many have fled, others have succumbed to the relentless plague, their faces now among the silent, unburied dead. You feel the profound absence of their authority, their guidance, leaving a gaping void where certainty once stood. Congregations are adrift, a flock without a shepherd, lost in a vast, terrifying sea of despair. You see it in the haunted eyes of the few survivors you encounter. A neighbor, huddled against a wall, their face a mask of profound sorrow, their lips moving in a silent, desperate prayer. You feel the rough wooden crucifix in your own hand, clutched so tightly that its sharp edges dig into your palm. It offers only a fragile sense of solace, a final, desperate plea to a seemingly absent God, a silent scream of "Why us?" that hangs heavy and unspoken in the cold, thick air. The emotional toll is immense. The silent, drawn faces of mothers wailing over children lost too soon, their cries echoing from hollow dwellings. The blank stares of fathers flumped by empty hearths, their hands limp, useless. Guilt, a bitter, corrosive taste, consumes those who survived when loved ones did not. A relentless question gnawing at their very souls. Superstitious rituals, once relegated to the fringes, now gain desperate, frantic traction. You see crude amulets, carved from bone or wood, hanging from doorways and around necks. Charms made of dried herbs and strange stones are clutched in trembling hands, their owners muttering bizarre incantations with a frantic hope, a desperate grasp for control in a world that has utterly lost its way. The once vibrant hymns sung in church are replaced by a chilling silence, or by the anguished, desperate cries of those openly questioning divine justice, their voices raw with pain and disillusionment. The bitter taste of fatalism settles on your tongue, heavy and inescapable. The contrast between the initial unwavering faith, that rock-solid belief in God's plan, and the current profound disillusionment is stark, a chasm that has opened beneath your very feet. This descent into spiritual crisis underscores the precarious nature of hope when confronted with incomprehensible suffering, forcing individuals to confront their deepest beliefs and the absolute limits of human resilience. In this world abandoned by both God and man, stripped bare of all illusion, you realize that all that remains is the desperate, tenacious will to simply exist, carrying the bitter taste of fatalism, yet still, inexplicably, searching for a reason to draw the next breath. The air in the cramped, makeshift infirmary hits you first, a cloying, heavy stench that catches in your throat, making you involuntarily gag. It's the pungent sweetness of decaying flesh, mingling with the sharp acidic tang of vinegar used for cleansing, and the damp, earthy aroma of countless herbal poultices, all woven into the ever-present odor of sickness and fear. You breathe it in, each inhale a conscious effort, against the suffocating weight that seems to cling to your very lungs. Your hands, perpetually chapped and raw, from constant washing with harsh soap and potent tinctures, move with a grim, practiced determination. You reach for a fresh linen bandage, its rough texture a familiar presence against your worn skin. Before you, a patient lies on a rough pallet, their body racked with fever, their skin glistening with sweat. Your eyes fix on the grotesque, swollen lump in their armpit, a bubo, hot and angry, its skin stretched taut and dark. You pick up a crude, unsterilized instrument, its metal cold and unyielding against your trembling fingers. The sharp, agonizing cry of the patient as you lance the festering bubo tears through the small, unsanitary chamber, a sound of raw, unmitigated pain that rips at your very soul. You feel the sickening burst, the gush of putrid fluid against your hand, the acrid metallic taste of fear rising in your mouth. You work quickly, applying the herbal poultice and then the rough linen bandage, your movements precise, almost desperate. The sight of their pleading, desperate eyes, wide with both a desperate flicker of hope and an overwhelming terror, is a constant, crushing burden. In that raw, silent appeal, you see a plea for a cure that does not exist, a cry for mercy that you are utterly powerless to deliver. You feel the terrifying heat of their fevered skin beneath your palm, a scorching inferno that contrasts sharply with the cold sweat of fear that prickles your own brow, running in icy rivulets down your temples. You, like the barber surgeons and apothecaries, are armed with nothing more than ancient texts, fleeting superstitions, and a desperate, burning desire to help. You face an enemy you cannot comprehend, a foe you cannot defeat, watching as it claims life after life, mocking your limited knowledge and primitive tools. This relentless, often hopeless struggle against an unseen killer underscores a profound truth: the human need to alleviate suffering, even when faced with overwhelming odds and the constant, chilling presence of death. In this crucible of agony and despair, where every effort is a gamble against oblivion, you realize that courage isn't just about fighting, it's about simply showing up, day after agonizing day, to bear witness to suffering, and to offer what little comfort you can, even when all hope seems lost. The bitter taste of forced isolation is now a constant presence on your tongue, dry and metallic, a flavor that has replaced the sweetness of shared meals and the tang of fresh air. You haven't tasted true freedom in days, perhaps weeks, sealed within your dwelling. The heavy, crude door, once a symbol of sanctuary, now feels like the unyielding barrier of a silent prison, its rough wood a cold reminder of your confinement. Beyond these four walls, the city's usual clamor is almost entirely gone, replaced by an eerie, profound silence. But in that stillness, other sounds, more terrifying, emerge. From behind a neighbor's locked door, a sound of weeping, low and heart-wrenching, becomes a haunting lullaby in the endless night. It's a sound that tears at your soul, a raw symphony of despair, reminding you of the families, once inseparable, now torn apart by fear and decree, or by the disease itself. You press your ear against the thin wall, imagining the faces twisted in grief, feeling a profound helplessness. You approach your grimy window, its smudged pane offering a distorted, muted view of the street below. What once echoed with the shouts of children's laughter, the rumble of carts, the calls of hawkers, is now a desolate expanse. Only the occasional creaking passage of a death cart breaks the silence, its driver a cloaked, anonymous figure, his voice a hoarse, mournful cry of, "Bring out your dead." The very sight of it sends a fresh wave of cold dread through you, a physical shiver that has nothing to do with the winter air. The communal spaces, the market square, the church, once bustling hubs of life, are now abandoned, utterly devoid of human presence, creating an almost tangible feeling of being cut off. Each household, a lonely island in a vast, terrifying sea of disease. You feel the suffocating weight of quarantine, a silent internal pressure that makes each breath an effort. The touch of your own skin feels alien, disconnected. You remember the warmth of a friend's hand, the casual brush of a neighbor's arm, and a profound loneliness settles deep in your chest. The once strong bonds of community, forged in shared hardship, fray under this extreme pressure, replaced by suspicion. You eye a passing figure on the street, a flicker of fear in their glance, a quick, wary step to avoid proximity, a silent accusation in their eyes that speaks of self-preservation above all else. The sacrifices are immense, carving deep, permanent scars on the soul. You hear the whispers of parents abandoning sick children to save healthy ones, or the agonizing choice to stay, knowing it means your own death. These decisions, forced by a rudimentary understanding of contagion, by the absolute lack of any real cure or protection, are heartbreaking, leaving a bitter residue of guilt and sorrow that will linger long after the disease recedes. This profound loneliness of isolation, the complete severance of human touch and comfort, highlights the devastating psychological torment inflicted when a society's primary defense against a deadly, invisible enemy is simply to separate its people from each other. In this forced solitude, the true cost of survival, beyond mere life and death, is laid bare. The slow, agonizing erosion of the human spirit. The plague has finally receded. The incessant tolling of bells, the desperate cries of the dying, the mournful calls of the death carts, all have ceased. Now an eerie, profound silence blankets the city, a heavy, suffocating presence that presses in on your ears, making the faint rustle of dry leaves sound unnaturally loud. The air, once thick with the cloying stench of death and decay, now feels clean and crisp against your lungs, almost miraculously pure. Yet, it carries a phantom chill that settles deep into your bones, a ghostly echo of the terror that lingered in every breath, a cold memory of what has passed. You walk through what were once bustling markets, along streets that teemed with life. Your footsteps, cautious and tentative, echo hollowly against the cobblestones, emphasizing the immense loss. The profound emptiness is palpable, an aching void where familiar faces, once so numerous, have simply vanished. You see an abandoned merchant stall, its wooden counter cracked, overgrown with tenacious weeds, a forgotten piece of cloth flapping mournfully in the silent breeze. This isn't merely quiet, it's a silence born of absence, a heavy testament to the untold lives that were here and now are not. In a dusty courtyard, you glimpse children, survivors, playing cautiously among the ruins of what once was. Their games are infused with a new, quiet solemnity, their laughter subdued, never quite reaching the joyous abandon you remember. They pick through debris, their small hands tracing forgotten objects, their eyes holding a wisdom far beyond their years, a silent understanding of the fragile world they now inhabit. The bittersweet taste of survival lingers on your tongue, a strange, complex flavor. It's mixed with the acrid tang of grief for those you lost, a raw, burning sorrow that resides deep in your chest, and beneath it all, the gnawing guilt of outliving loved ones, a metallic, bitter taste that clings stubbornly, a relentless question of why you, and not them. It's a weight that you carry in every weary muscle, every slow breath. The landscape of the city itself is scarred, a grim monument to the departed. Abandoned homes stand with their doors ajar, their windows shattered, revealing glimpses of interrupted lives, now choked with dust. Gardens, once meticulously tended, are overgrown, wild, reclaiming the spaces where families once gathered. And at the city's edge, hastily dug mass graves, simple mounds of earth, serve as stark, silent testimony to the plague's indiscriminate harvest, their presence a constant, chilling reminder of the scale of the devastation. The physical sensation of rebuilding has begun, a slow, arduous process. You feel the ache in your weary muscles as you lift fallen timbers, as you clear debris from deserted pathways, as you help bury the last of the dead, their bodies, now blessedly cold and still. It is a labor of sorrow, a desperate attempt to bring order to chaos, to reclaim some semblance of life from the jaws of oblivion. Yet, amidst the devastation, there's a subtle, almost imperceptible shift, a nascent hope, fragile as the first shoots of spring. The sunlight, though the same celestial fire, seems to shine differently, illuminating a world irrevocably altered, yet still persisting. Its rays warm your cold skin, a small, undeniable comfort. This overwhelming emptiness, and the tangible marks of devastation, stand in stark contrast to the modern world's ability to quickly recover and restore order after disaster. Here, the catastrophe's sheer scale is etched into every stone, every silence. It highlights the enduring memory of loss, a profound, collective scar that will forever shape those who remain, a testament to the unyielding will of humanity to not only endure, but to painstakingly begin again. Even after such profound, soul-shattering devastation, the profound silence of the emptied city still presses in, an almost physical weight. But now, it's different. You step out from your dwelling, and the air, once heavy with the stench of death and decay, feels clean and crisp against your lungs, almost miraculously pure. You breathe deeply, finding a profound, visceral gratitude for simply being alive, for the sheer act of drawing breath. The warmth of the sun on your skin, a sensation once taken for granted, now feels like a blessing, a miracle you cherish with every ray, a soft caress after so much cold and fear. You break off a piece of plain bread, rough and unadorned, its taste simple but deeply satisfying, a testament to sheer existence, to the preciousness of sustenance. People are rebuilding, not just structures with hammer and saw, but new social bonds and communal ties. You see it in the way hands reach, not in fear or suspicion, but to lift a heavy timber for a new roof, to clear debris from a choked pathway, to share the weight of a common future. These new connections, forged in the crucible of shared trauma and mutual need, feel stronger, more immediate, stripped bare of old pretenses. The rhythm of work is different now. It's slower, more deliberate, infused with a quiet determination. You hear the rhythmic chord of a hammer, the soft scrape of a shovel, sounds of life reclaiming its space. And then, the sound of new laughter. Tentative at first, a soft ripple in the vast quiet. It begins to grow stronger, slowly replacing the mournful echoes of despair. Children, their faces still etched with solemnity, play games that hold a new, quiet dignity, their voices rising with a fragile, hopeful energy that catches in your throat. Around the communal hearths at dusk, the few remaining families gather. Stories of loss and survival become the bedrock of a new collective memory, whispered around the flickering flames, their hushed tones weaving through the lingering smell of wood smoke. You listen, your own voice joining in, recounting tales of courage and resilience, shaping the identity of the next generation, a profound lesson etched into their very being. You feel the ache in your muscles, not just from clearing ruins, but from the deliberate physical act of tilling newly available, abandoned land, the soil cool and rich beneath your worn hands. The earthy scent of disturbed earth fills your nostrils, a promise of new life. Or perhaps you master a trade left vacant, the tools feeling new yet familiar in your grip, providing a tangible sense of purpose, a future earned through sheer grit and stubborn will. You carefully shape wood, mend leather, or spin wool, each act a defiance against the desolation. There's a new awareness now, a sharper appreciation for the precariousness of life, a lesson etched deeply into the collective consciousness. Every sunrise, every shared meal, every moment of health is a gift, understood with a clarity born of unimaginable loss. The resilience shown in these times, the sheer willpower to overcome insurmountable odds, is a constant, humbling reminder of humanity's enduring capacity to adapt, to find strength even after the most profound losses. This isn't just survival, it's a defiant continuation, a stubborn refusal to be broken, a painstaking recreation of existence. From the deepest darkness, life finds a way to persist, to honor the memory of the past, to carry its hard-won lessons, and to bravely face the dawn of a new, albeit dramatically changed world, forever marked, yet forever unyielding. The year is 1347. You wake up, not in the quiet of a medieval winter morning, but to a different, harsher reality. The air is not breathable. It's a raw metallic claw raking at your throat the moment you open your mouth. It's thick, overwhelmingly thick, with the acrid tang of burning coal, a constant cloud that seems to press down from the perpetually darkened sky. Beneath that, You taste the sharp, chemical reek of lubricating oil, a greasy film that coats your tongue and teeth, making each inhale a conscious effort, your lungs burning with the grit of soot that settles like a perpetual film. Before your eyes even fully adjust to the pre-dawn gloom, the very ground beneath your worn boots begins to tremble. It's a seismic, relentless thrum, a deep-seated vibration that seems to emanate from the bowels of the earth itself, traveling up through the cold, slick cobblestones, rattling your bones. This isn't a natural awakening, a slow dawn. This is the monstrous, hungry groan of the machines, 1,000 iron beasts stirring to life in the industrial haze that never truly dissipates. Their collective roar is a low, guttural growl that grows louder with every passing second. Then, piercing through the heavy, polluted air, comes the shriek. The piercing shriek of a factory whistle slices through the din, a sound so sharp, so insistent, it makes your teeth ache, drilling deep into your skull. It's an aggressive, unyielding declaration of relentless labor, replacing any gentle dawn chorus with its harsh, metallic command. It's the sound that dictates your life, a clock that allows no grace. Your eyes, already gritty from yesterday's dust and the omnipresent soot, strain in the perpetual twilight cast by the industrial haze. You navigate the narrow, winding cobblestone alleyways, their surfaces slick with refuse and condensation, each step a cautious negotiation in the near darkness. You see the faint, ghostly silhouettes of other workers, hunched and silent, moving like automatons towards the same monstrous maw. The chill that bites at your exposed skin is more than just the morning air. It's the cold dread of another 12-hour shift stretching endlessly before you, a vast, unforgiving expanse of toil. You feel the physical strain already, a preemptive ache in your shoulders and back, a daily surrender to the deafening clamor, the suffocating air, and the constant, repetitive physical demands. Imagine a world entirely devoid of true quiet, where the natural symphony of birdsong or rustling leaves is completely usurped by the ceaseless, metallic symphony of industry. Consider how a modern morning, often begun with the gentle hum of appliances and the luxury of unpolluted air, contrasts with this suffocating, grinding reality. This era, this industrial dawn, was a crucible of sensory assault, demanding an almost unimaginable resilience. It forced humanity to redefine normalcy amidst an environment that relentlessly challenged every instinct for comfort and peace, showcasing the raw, unyielding will to survive. In this relentless man-made storm of sight, sound, and smell, you learn that enduring isn't just a choice. It's a profound, defiant act against a world that demands everything and gives back so very little. The colossal doors of the factory groan open, letting in a narrow, grudging sliver of the acrid dawn, but it's immediately swallowed by the factory's internal inferno. The heat hits you first, a palpable, oppressive shroud that clamps down on your lungs, thick with the acrid tang of burning coal and the sharp, chemical reek of lubricating oil. Each inhale is a conscious effort, your lungs burning, the gritty soot settling like a perpetual film on your tongue and teeth, a metallic, bitter taste that never leaves. Yet, beneath this overwhelming warmth, biting cold, drafts snake through cracked walls and broken panes, raising goosebumps on your exposed skin, a constant, unsettling contradiction. The very ground beneath your worn boots trembles with a seismic, relentless thrum, a deep-seated vibration that seems to emanate from the bowels of the earth itself, traveling up through the warped floorboards, rattling your bones. This isn't a natural sound. It's the monstrous, hungry groan of the machines, 1,000 iron beasts roaring, clanking and grinding, their gears meshing with the sound of protesting teeth. The rhythmic thud chunk of power looms, creates a hypnotic, yet utterly mind-numbing bass line that infiltrates your very thoughts, drowning out any capacity for quiet contemplation. The air itself, thick with airborne fibers and metal shavings, glitters in the weak, dust-choked shafts of light that fight to filter through the grimy windows, a suffocating, sparkling haze. Your fingers, calloused and nimble, move instinctively, navigating the perilous proximity of gleaming, whirring cogs, of churning belts, of sharp, moving parts. A single lapse in concentration, a moment's hesitation, a flicker of fatigue, threatens maiming, or worse. You feel the constant tension in your muscles, the raw strength required to manipulate heavy levers, or guide the relentless fabric, minute after minute, hour after hour. The smell of sweat, pungent and insistent, mixes with the ever-present oil and coal dust, clinging to your threadbare clothes, a testament to the sheer physical exertion demanded. There's no pause, no moment of true rest, only the relentless push of the supervisor's eye, a stern gaze that sweeps across the cavernous room, silently urging faster, harder. You feel the cold dread of a pay docked for a moment's hesitation, a day's wages lost for a slip of the hand. This brutal ballet of man and machine, this forced intimacy with technology in its infancy, forges a new, unyielding kind of human endurance. It wasn't just about making a living, it was about the human body becoming another, more fragile component in the relentless engine of progress. In this deafening clamor, in this perpetual twilight of dust and grit, where every breath is a struggle and every movement a risk, you realize the extraordinary capacity for perseverance when faced with the harsh, undeniable realities of earning one's daily bread. This world, stripped bare of comfort, reveals a raw, tenacious will to survive, an unyielding strength forged in the heart of the machine. You step out of the factory's oppressive maw, its deafening roar and acrid smoke fading behind you, but instead of relief, a new wall hits you. This isn't the metallic tang of burning coal. It's a smell so profound it makes your eyes water, an inescapable, suffocating miasma that invades every pore, every breath. It's the raw, visceral stench of human waste, mingling with the heavy, sweet decay of rotting refuse, the pungent aroma of animal dung, and an almost sickly sweet undertone that whispers of sickness itself. This scent clings to every damp brick, every shadowed corner, a constant, visceral reminder of the city's overflowing humanity and its utter, desperate lack of sanitation. It settles on your clothes, in your hair, and leaves a persistent, bitter taste at the back of your throat. The ground beneath your worn boots is no longer the factory's grimy concrete. Here, the cobbled streets are perpetually slick, not just with rain, but with a murky, unidentifiable slime that squelches and slips underfoot. You feel its cold, viscous touch seep through the worn leather of your shoes, a chilling reminder of unseen pathogens, a constant, quiet dread that every step is a gamble. Every breath you take feels precarious, as if the very air itself is tainted. With a chilling certainty that every drop of communal water you might consume is a potential death sentence. The soundscape shifts dramatically from the mechanical roar of the factory, but it's no less overwhelming. Now, It's a cacophony of raw human cries. Hawkers, their voices hoarse, shout their wares with frantic urgency. Ragged children, their faces smudged with dirt, their eyes wide and pleading, push through the throng, their thin voices begging for coins or scraps of food. From a distant, unseen alley, you catch the chilling wail of a mother mourning, a primal sound of grief that cuts through the general din, a stark reminder of the ever-present suffering. And beneath it all, the incessant chatter of 1,000 desperate conversations, a ceaseless hum of lives lived on the edge, a complex symphony of survival. Physical proximity is unavoidable here. Bodies press against you from all sides, a constant, jostling pressure that leaves no room for personal space. You feel the rough wool of countless cloaks, the accidental brush of a stranger's clammy hand, each contact an uncomfortable, intimate interaction. Each person carries their own unique scent of grime, sweat, and poverty, adding to the overwhelming sensory assault. There is no concept of personal boundaries, only a collective, physical struggle for passage through the crowded, winding lanes, a constant negotiation with the sheer mass of humanity. Imagine the psychological toll of such constant, unavoidable filth and disease, a world where the simple act of breathing was an exercise in biological roulette. Today, we sanitize our hands, purify our water, and disinfect our homes without a second thought. But in this era, every interaction, every surface, every moment was a direct confrontation with the raw, untamed forces of urban survival, demanding a resilience we can barely comprehend. In this relentless, chaotic existence, where disease is an unseen predator, and comfort, a forgotten luxury, you learn that simply existing is a profound act of defiance. It's a harsh, unforgiving existence that carves deep into the soul, but also forges an unyielding will to persist, against all odds, in the heart of the teeming, brutal city. Amidst the overwhelming squalor of the city, the air still thick, with the pervasive miasma of human waste and decaying refuse, a different kind of tension simmers. It's a constant, unspoken competition for meager resources, a subtle current beneath the cacophony. Your eyes, accustomed to scanning for threats, now dart, observing the wary glances exchanged between neighbors queuing at a sparse vendor stall, calculating who might get the last stale bread, whose child looks thinner than yours. You feel the cold, sharp edge of desperation in the air, a metallic tang on your tongue, even as you too size up the competition. Yet, in these fleeting, often wary exchanges of eye contact, sometimes a subtle shift occurs. A brief, knowing glance of recognition passes between strangers. A silent acknowledgement of mutual struggle. A shared grimace that hints at a fierce loyalty born of this common, brutal hardship. The textures underfoot vary wildly, a treacherous map of urban decay. One moment, your worn boot slides on the smooth, polished sheen of worn cobblestones near a once bustling market stall, their surfaces gleaming with an unnatural, sickly wetness. The next, your foot sinks with a sickening squelch into the uneven, muddy ground of a slum dwelling, the cold, viscous liquid seeping through the thin leather of your shoes, a chilling reminder of unseen pathogens, of the ever-present filth that defines this world. Each step is a potential misstep, a constant negotiation with the treacherous terrain. You approach a street vendor, his face gaunt, his wares spread on a soiled cloth. The taste of cheap often spoiled. Food from his cart is a gamble, a blend of stale bread, hard as rock, and questionable, greasy meat. It smells faintly off, that you chew slowly, carefully. It's not a pleasant taste, it's a desperate one, a temporary ward against the gnawing hunger that has become your constant companion. Your mouth is perpetually dry, your lips chapped and cracked. The lack of clean water isn't just an inconvenience. It's a daily, life-threatening challenge, a persistent thirst that defines every aspect of existence, from the dull ache in your throat to the constant, low thrum of anxiety in your chest. You measure out your meager ration of murky well water with agonizing care, each drop precious. The sheer physical endurance required to navigate such an environment daily is profound. Your body, already weary from the factory's relentless labor, now battles the subtle draining effects of malnutrition and chronic illness. Every ache, every cough, every slight dizziness is a reminder of your fragility, a quiet internal battle fought ceaselessly. Yet, this constant precariousness, this shared vulnerability, has forged an extraordinary human resilience. You see it in the way a neighbor, despite their own struggles, extends a hand to someone worse off, offering a small piece of their own meager ration, or a shared knowing look of empathy. It's a spirit of collective survival, a raw, unspoken pact. This profound contrast to modern individualism, where personal challenges are often met in isolation, reveals how communities, born from the crucible of shared adversity, could find strength and even a strange, raw beauty in their collective will to persist against overwhelming odds. It is a testament to the enduring human spirit, a relentless, stubborn refusal to be broken, finding light even in the deepest, grimiest shadows. Returning home after the relentless grind of the factory doesn't bring true solace, only a different set of challenges that clamp down on your weary spirit. The moment you push through the rough wooden door of your cramped dwelling, the pervasive smell hits you. A heavy, close blend of stale cooking, the damp, earthy scent of unwashed clothes, and that lingering, sweet-sour tang of sickness that never quite dissipates. A constant, low-level warning that prickles your nostrils. It's an odor that permeates every thread of your being, a bitter taste that settles on your tongue. The air inside is thick, heavy with the residue of a small, grudging coal fire, its warmth barely reaching the extremities of the single, multi-purpose room. You hold your hands out to its meager glow, but the heat quickly retreats, replaced by the biting cold that seems to seep through the thin, peeling walls, offering little protection from the elements. You can still hear the muted cacophony of the street outside, the distant shouts, the rumble of carts, the incessant babble of countless lives, a constant reminder of the world's indifferent chaos, even within your supposed sanctuary. You sink onto your rough pallet, the coarse, unwashed blankets of familiar scratch against your skin. They offer scant comfort, a far cry from the soft, clean linens of a modern bed, but they are all you have. Dinner is a meager affair, perhaps a watery stew, its taste bland and monotonous, yet you cherish each spoonful, knowing its fragile power to ward off the deeper, more profound gnawing of true hunger. The thin gruel warms your belly for a moment, a fleeting comfort against the pervasive chill. Your eyes sweep across the small room, landing on your children. They huddle close to the dying fire, their small forms pale and thin, their faces smudged with soot, mirroring your own exhaustion. The sight of them, their vulnerable fragility, tugs at a profound, desperate ache within your chest, a silent vow to protect them against a world that demands so much and gives so little. There's a constant, low-level anxiety that permeates the very fabric of existence here. the pervasive fear of illness, always lurking, a whisper of a cough from a nearby pallet, the dread of unemployment, of the factory whistle failing to call you tomorrow, the terror of eviction, of losing even this meager shelter. Imagine the mental and emotional toll of never feeling truly secure, of every day being a battle against the encroaching tide of poverty and desperation, a relentless fight for mere subsistence. Your mind races with calculations, with worries that refuse to be silenced. This dwelling, for all its necessity, is not a sanctuary in the way we understand home today, a place of comfort, safety, and respite. Here, it is merely a slightly less hostile environment, a temporary shield against the elements, a space to huddle with your loved ones and survive until the next relentless dawn. The stark reality highlights how little true respite was available for the vast majority in this industrial age, underscoring the daily, unending struggle for basic human dignity, a battle fought with every breath, every shared, silent glance, every precious, meager meal. In this quiet, unyielding fight, you find a profound, if exhausted, testament to the enduring human spirit. The factory's ceaseless roar and the street's cacophony have receded, replaced by the profound, heavy quiet within your cramped dwelling. But even here, the sounds, though softer, are equally poignant. You lie on your rough straw mattress, the persistent damp seeping into your bones, and hear it, a child's soft, ragged cough echoing in the stillness, a sound that tightens your chest, a chilling whisper of an ever-present threat. The dry rustle of straw mattresses as family members shift in their fitful sleep, a restless symphony of bodies seeking elusive comfort, becomes a constant backdrop to your thoughts. Then, the low murmur of tired parents, their voices hushed, discussing the next day's impossible tasks, the endless calculations of how to make meager resources stretch, a subtle, almost imperceptible tension in the air. You reach out in the darkness, your hand finding the small, rough hand of your youngest child. It's a lifeline, a tangible connection in a world that often felt devoid of warmth, a profound comfort that anchors you against the encroaching despair. You feel the child's shallow breathing, their slight warmth, a fragile counterpoint to the biting cold that permeates the room. The physical spaces are so small, forcing an intimacy that could be both comforting and stifling. Every breath, every movement, every low groan in the night is shared. You feel the soft brush of bodies beside you, their presence a mixture of solace and constant reminder of your lack of privacy. The absence of modern conveniences is absolute, a stark, unyielding reality. There is no running water, no gentle flow, only the memory of the cold, murky water from the communal well. No reliable light after dark beyond the flickering, guttering flame of a tallow candle, its meager glow casting dancing shadows, pushing back the oppressive darkness only inches at a time, leaving vast, unseen corners where imagination breeds fear. There's no escape from the pervasive, bone-chilling cold that gnaws at you even beneath the coarse blankets, and the constant threat of fire, a careless spark away from engulfing your flimsy dwelling, adds another layer of anxiety. Imagine the shared experience of enduring such profound physical discomfort, the constant battle against cold, hunger, and illness. And yet, amidst these overwhelming odds, the emotional resilience required to maintain family bonds is extraordinary. This daily grind wasn't just about survival, it was about defining love and community in the harshest possible terms. It was about the silent understanding exchanged across a dark room, the shared warmth of huddled bodies, the fierce protective instinct that bound you together. This stark reality, a profound contrast to today's focus on individual comfort and convenience, forces us to reflect on the core human need for connection. In this era, that connection became a beacon of hope and strength, a testament to the incredible, enduring power of the human spirit against relentless adversity. In those hushed moments before dawn, in the shared breath of your family, you find a strength that transcends mere survival, a deep, abiding testament to love in the face of an unforgiving world. You bite into the piece of bread bought from a bustling city market, and the taste is different. It's bland, a uniform texture that lacks the earthy, wholesome taste of grain harvested from your ancestral fields. Gone is the rough, hearty flavor of bread baked in a village oven, replaced by a mass-produced uniformity that feels strangely sterile. This shift in taste isn't merely about flavor. It encapsulates a profound cultural shock, a bitter tang of severance. It's the breaking of ties to the rural world, to the rhythmic cycle of seasons, to the intimate connection to the land that defined generations of your family. The visual landscape around you reinforces this loss, pressing in from all sides. No longer do your eyes feast on rolling hills, their contours softened by ancient trees and the shifting colors of crops. Instead, you see a monotonous vista of grim brick tenements, their uniform facades stretching endlessly, punctuated by the skeletal, smoke-belching forms of factory smokestacks. It's a gray canvas, perpetually veiled by industrial haze, a relentless grime that coats every surface, every breath. The sunlight, when it penetrates, is weak, struggling to assert itself against the pervasive gloom. The sounds, too, are a constant, jarring reminder of your dislocation. The sweet, clear birdsong of the countryside, the distant lowing of cattle, the gentle rustle of wind through grain fields, these are now distant memories, replaced by the incessant clatter of wooden carts on cobblestones, the shrill cries of street vendors, and the overwhelming metallic roar of industry, a constant, abrasive symphony that scrapes at your nerves. You yearn for quiet, for the simple peace of a natural world. Even the air feels different. The fresh, clean breath of the countryside, that invigorating scent of damp earth and growing things, is a distant, almost forgotten memory. Here it's replaced by the choking city air, thick with soot, the acrid tang of coal smoke, and the faint, unsettling chemical reek of the factories. Each inhale is an effort, your lungs burning, a constant battle against the polluted atmosphere. The loss isn't just physical, it's a spiritual erosion, a gnawing ache in your soul. You feel a profound sense of being uprooted from the very essence of your heritage, of the traditions that shaped your family for centuries. You remember your grandmother's hands, gnarled from working the soil, and your own, calloused by factory work. And the contrast is a bitter pill. Imagine the deep emotional disorientation of seeing traditions, passed down through countless generations, rendered obsolete by the new, relentless rhythms of the factory and the impersonal demands of the city. There's no easy way to revisit that heritage now. The fields are too far, the village too distant, the way of life irrevocably changed. This is the finality of the break for those who moved to the burgeoning industrial centers, an irrevocable departure from a familiar, simpler way of life. It's a profound loss of identity, a severing that leaves you adrift in a new, bewildering world, where the promise of progress comes at a steep, soul-deep cost. You carry this sense of dislocation, this constant ache for what was, a silent testament to a world irrevocably lost. Despite the overwhelming urban environment, the pervasive miasma of the city, The relentless clamor of machinery, faint echoes of the old world persist. You reach into a worn wooden chest, perhaps a cherished possession brought from your village, and your fingers close around a piece of rough homespun cloth. It's a fragment from a blanket, or a patched garment, perhaps even a remnant from a grandmother's dowry. The familiar, coarse texture against your skin offers a brief, startling sensory connection to a vanishing past. A world of handcrafts and slower, more deliberate rhythms. A ghost of comfort in your palm. Later, in a crowded public house, thick with the smell of cheap ale and unwashed bodies, you sit hunched over a meager pint. The din of desperate conversation, the clatter of mugs, is the usual soundtrack. But then, a voice, raspy but clear, rises from a corner. It's the melancholic, wavering lilt of an old folk song, sung by a newly arrived migrant, a tune from a forgotten village green, of communal celebrations and harvests, now lost to the city's ceaseless sprawl. For a fleeting moment, the oppressive noise of the city fades, replaced by the ghost of a simpler time. You feel a pang in your chest, a yearning so sharp it almost brings tears to your eyes, a bitter taste of longing for a world you can never reclaim. At your evening meal, you eat a simple home-cooked dish, perhaps a thin broth, with a few root vegetables. You've replicated a recipe from the countryside, a taste passed down through generations. The earthy flavor, though humble, becomes a sacred act, a desperate attempt to preserve your identity, your very roots, against the homogenizing forces of industrial production, against the bland, uniform taste of factory-produced bread. You savor each spoonful, a defiant act of remembrance, a taste of what once was. But these moments are fleeting, fragile, easily shattered. The pervasive new rhythm of the factory whistle, that piercing shriek, dictates your life, and the hurried, individualistic pace of city life demands a radical, often brutal, adaptation. You feel the constant internal conflict, the yearning for a lost way of life, clashing with the brutal, undeniable necessity of embracing the new, of conforming to its harsh, unyielding demands. Your hands, once perhaps nimble with loom or plow, are now calloused by the unrelenting machines. Your mind, once attuned to seasons, now races with the artificial demands of the clock. This period forces a profound cultural reevaluation, a rapid evolution of social norms and personal identities. It's a quiet personal struggle, often unseen, a testament to the enduring human need for roots and belonging, even as the landscape of your life irrevocably transforms. You see it in the wary eyes of your neighbors, in their quiet attempts to weave old traditions into a new, unforgiving reality, and in those shared, desperate attempts to hold on to something, to rebuild a sense of shared purpose. A new, adaptive form of community begins to emerge from the ashes of the old. It's a profound sense of both loss for what was, and the emergence of a new, resilient spirit, binding people together in the face of an uncertain, terrifying future. In the relentless march of progress, the human heart, battered but unbowed, finds ways to carry the echoes of its past, weaving them into the fabric of a new, complex present, a testament to its enduring, stubborn capacity to remember and to adapt. The pervasive smell of damp, unwashed bodies and stale beer in the crowded pub is now laced with a new, unsettling current. The acrid tang of heated argument, of whispered grievances taking root like insidious weeds. You sit hunched over a chipped mug, the cheap gin burning a brief, fierce path down your throat, a momentary escape from the day's relentless grind, but that burning taste also acts as a catalyst, loosening tongues, fueling bolder, more defiant conversations that rise and fall like the tide, just barely audible above the din. The relentless noise of machinery, which usually fades into a mind-numbing background drone, suddenly seems less like progress and more like oppression. Each thud chunk of the power loom, each clang of the forge, fueling a quiet, simmering resentment deep in your gut. You feel it vibrate in your very bones, not just the physical tremor but an internal tremor of discontent. The factory whistle's piercing shriek, once a hated signal, now feels like a taunt, a symbol of endless servitude. You begin to notice the subtle visual cues, signs that were invisible just weeks ago. A crudely drawn flyer, its stark message scrawled in charcoal, is tacked to a lamppost, barely legible in the perpetual twilight of the industrial haze. You pass a forgotten square, usually empty, where a small gathering forms, their bodies huddled close against the chill, their faces etched with a shared, burgeoning anger that mirrors your own. Their eyes, once downcast, now hold a fierce, defiant spark, meeting yours with a silent understanding. The physical exhaustion that has been your constant companion, the deep ache in your muscles, the grit of soot in your lungs, it all suddenly feels like an injustice, a deliberate cruelty. No longer is it simply the cost of living. It's a profound, burning wrong. You feel the moment of clarity, a slow, agonizing shift from passive endurance to active questioning. Why must it be this way? Why must your children toil in the same choking dust, for the same meager bread? This is the awakening of a collective consciousness amongst the downtrodden, a spark igniting in the dark. You remember the whispers of brutal suppression, the stories of those who spoke too loudly, who gathered too openly. You feel the cold dread of severe personal risk, of the beatings, the arrests, the hungry families left behind. This initial spark of resistance, unlike today's ubiquitous platforms for protest and social commentary, was a dangerous, uncertain journey, a path paved with personal sacrifice. This was the nascent stage of workers' rights, a dangerous and uncertain journey towards demanding basic human dignity. It was fueled by a raw emotional conviction, a profound, gut-level belief that a different, fairer world was possible, a world where your labor was not just exploited but valued. And in that shared conviction, in the defiant glint in the eyes of your fellow workers, in the bitter taste of cheap gin and the acrid tang of injustice, you find a testament to the enduring human quest for justice, a stubborn, unyielding hope that, even in the darkest corners of industry, a light can yet ignite. The pervasive harshness of the industrial city still clings to your very bones, a ghost of the relentless clamor and the acrid tang of coal smoke. Yet, as you step out, drawing a conscious, full breath, you notice a subtle shift. A faint, invigorating breeze stirs, not quite clean, still carrying the ghost of soot, but now undeniably laced with the scent of potential change, a new, almost hopeful tang that sharpens your senses. The air itself feels charged, less oppressive, carrying a different kind of energy. The sounds, too, are no longer just the oppressive thee-one-goers of distant machinery, or the isolated cries of despair from darkened hovels. Instead, from down a narrow, winding alley, you hear it, a rising, unified chant. Voices, once hushed by fear, now swell together, strong and clear, demanding reform. You push towards the sound, drawn by its magnetic force, finding yourself in a crowded, dimly lit hall. Impassioned speeches, raw and fervent, rise above the murmuring crowd, their words burning with a shared vision. A growing chorus of collective voices demanding justice, demanding a future. You feel the tremor of their conviction vibrate through the worn floorboards, a powerful, undeniable force. Your hand reaches out, instinctively grasping a crudely printed pamphlet thrust into your palm. Its paper is rough, the ink smudged, but as your fingers trace the stark, defiant words, it feels revolutionary. It's a tangible piece of a shared dream for dignity, a promise that resonates deep within you, more precious than any coin. The visual landscape, though still dominated by the grim gray structures of brick and the ever-present grime, now includes something new, something vital. You see the determined, hopeful glint in the eyes of your fellow workers, their faces, once etched with resignation, now alight with a fierce, quiet resolve. You see the defiant stance of those daring to organize, to gather, to speak out for a better future, their shoulders squared against the weight of the world. This isn't just about mere survival anymore. It's about the conscious, arduous act of shaping a future, of laying the groundwork for a world where labor might be respected, where your children might not face the same brutal realities that have defined your own life. You feel the profound emotional journey from passive endurance to empowering action, a new kind of energy coursing through your weary veins. The immense courage required to stand against a seemingly insurmountable system, a leviathan of industry and power, is palpable in the very air you breathe, driven by an unwavering belief in a better tomorrow. This pivotal era, though fraught with immense suffering, with hunger and hardship as constant companions, ultimately forged the very concepts of social justice and collective action that define modern society. It is a powerful reflection on the enduring human spirit, its capacity not only to endure unimaginable hardship, but also to tirelessly strive for a more equitable and humane existence, leaving behind a legacy of continuous struggle and progress. Even from the deepest darkness, life finds a way to persist. In the unified voices, in the defiance in their eyes, in the shared promise of a smudged pamphlet, you feel it. The human spirit's stubborn refusal to break, its unwavering will to honor the past, and its profound courage to bravely face the dawn of a new, albeit changed world, forever marked, yet forever pushing forward.